got another year to figure it out. And shit. So I'm pushing hard, bro.
Let's get it.
So, hey, thanks for driving up here, dude.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. The drive is really nothing for me. So those 6 hours are like just, listening and talking to myself.
Yeah. Do you drive over here a lot or not?
I kind of do. Yeah. I do it often. And it's definitely in the summer. That's when my season back home, like Phoenix is not the place you want to be in the summer. Our lakes kind of turn into... we get a lot of the pleasure boaters. The bite's different. You have to wake up extremely early, like 3 a.m., get out there. All of our lakes are, for just about everybody, they're about an hour drive away if you live in the suburbs in the area. They're an hour away, so you're driving out there an hour, and then you're trying to rush as the sun's coming up, and then the sun comes up, and by 9 a.m., it's like boiling already. It's melting hot. I look back at like my boat, my gear, and it's like, is this even worth it? I feel like I'm adding decades onto the life of this stuff by just being out there in the sweltering heat, and then, try to get your boat back on the trailer, get in the truck. It's another oven in there, it's just, and now do stuff. And back home, like anytime when it's summer, you don't want to do anything because it instantly just turns into just a puddle of sweat.
Yeah.
And it's like the system doesn't work over there like how it does on the coast or something. When you sweat there, it's like doing its proper thing. You sweat in Phoenix, it just keeps waterfall, keeps going, doesn't know what to do. So, yeah, I make the drive often, and it's the summer thing. And for me, it's kind of like tuna. It's my saltwater time. Like my time to get my saltwater fix. I've been lucky to go to Cancun every year of my life since I was a kid. With my parents had a timeshare there when it was like nothing there. Yeah. And they bought into the idea, and it's worked out great. We go there every year. So that's also like always been my saltwater education. And flats fishing, they have tarpon, snook, permit, bonefish, and then they have like the trolling stuff and some of like the shallow reef kind of fishing too. So I grew up there doing not only fishing but spear fishing, free diving, later in life scuba. But when I was a kid, we used to go and collect lobsters and the snail, the conch, and make ceviches, and then we used to go behind the panga, and we'd be towed on like a rope. You'd have 2 ropes hanging off, and me and the guide, we'd be back there, and like we would just have our snorkel, and you'd be going along, and as you would be coming slowly over reefs, like you would look out for. And lobster antennas or the snail thing, the shell or just whatever else you saw that was edible, something to collect. Yeah. And you let go and dive down, get it, bring it up, and that's
circle back around and get
here we go again. And what's funny is I've only been bit by a bee twice in my life. Both times have been while fishing on a boat. The first time was out there in Cancun in the middle of this damn... it's not like we're in open ocean, but in the friggin' ocean, not close to the coast. Are you allergic to? I'm not.
Oh, thank
Luckily,
God.
Right? I found out. Because that thing, like all of a sudden, I'm going on that, on that setup, and I feel like this burn in my groin. Just, I'm like, something like bit me. And as I like go like that, I see there's this bee in my hand. It bit me like right in the groin. And it wasn't a big deal, but it was just like, are you serious? This is when I get bit? And the other time was with a client in Arizona, and we were back there in Saguaro. And like, it's funny because he's fishing and this bee lands on him. And I was like, oh shit, I like smack it off of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I just saved you, but I think it was like on his butt or something. So I was like, good game. No, I didn't look at you in the eye, but it's just there was a bee like right there. Like, okay. Well, then something crawled up my pant, and again, like I don't know what bees have with my down regions.
Hey, you're sweet down there.
Sweetness, brother. Geez, sweet. They come up and like this one bites me like in the butt cheek, dude. I'm just like, like, dude, I don't want your help though. Like, don't help me the way I helped you. Like, stay over there. Those are my 2 like only bee experiences have been on the water.
That's funny, dude. So your dad fishes and hunts everything?
My dad does not really fish. That's never really been his thing.
Really?
Yeah, no, he's not the patience type.
Okay.
And it's funny because this is one of these things that like the older I get, the more I think about like when people that don't really fish and they talk to you about like, oh, fishing, that requires a lot of patience, huh? And you're just like, well, no, it's not really patience, but I see where you think like, I realize now it is a patience, but it's not that same patience that they're thinking where it's like, oh yeah, you got to be patient because you throw out your bait and then you sit down, crack a few beers, and you're hanging out, right, and like eating chips or whatever. Like, no, that's not the kind of fishing I'm talking about, right? Like, it's always such a challenge when you have to like tell somebody that doesn't understand the fishing thing of it at all. They're like, wait, it's an industry, people actually do that, like, oh, gosh. But it's like when people tell me that, I already forgot what I was talking about.
About having patience in fishing.
About having patience, right?
Yeah.
And like they say that, and now I realize that patience is like an overall patience for frustration. It's not a patience of like time or like, oh, you got to be patient to wait for something to happen. Mm-hmm. It's more like you have to be patient to keep from like snapping the rod around your freaking neck. It's like patience to not like just, like I just lost a damn fish, like all of us, like we like the videos, but at the same time, it's like, dude, chill the fuck out, like what you, and like it just once you start with that, like it just snowballs on, and that unfortunately, like that's something I've been having to work on that with time when it's me fishing. The funny thing is that like when I'm guiding, I don't have that frustration at all. You could sit there and I'll watch you and just kind of giggle with you as you miss the shot and miss the shot and miss the shot and miss the cast, miss the cast, miss the cast.
You're doing your job though, right?
Right. And I'm just like, oh, almost a little more to the right, just slightly outside, like all kinds of stupid shit. And it's just like, okay, let's keep moving. Yeah. When it's me on that rod, I'll fucking kill myself. Like I'm going to throw that thing in the water. I'll throw myself in the water. I'm just like, ah! So I had to, that's definitely the patience thing. I get it now. No. And that's what they're talking about. Like, you have to have a lot of patience. You have to have patience in you're learning something that's going to be a constant learning experience your whole life. You never, or just when you thought you realize it changed on you and now you're back to zero. Like it's this experience that it always keeps coming at you. And that's that patience, I think, that they talk about that I'm finally starting to get.
And I get it because like if people tell me, like my wife will go, oh, it's so soothing when I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm looking for a fucking bite. I'm like, fucking intense as shit. Maybe drinking a couple beers calms me down, but I'm usually like intense.
I noticed there was a beautiful cliff. I noticed there was an eagle on the cliff.
I don't give a shit about it. Exactly. If I'm getting bit on that swim bait or, whatever it is. Yeah. So you've been doing the swim bait thing for the big swim baits for how long now?
I guess this is my 5th year of guiding in it. And then it was just a few months before like I started this guide service of my own that I like accidentally fell into specializing in swim baits. When I first set this whole thing up, my idea was like, I'm gonna have to do some of the conventional stuff, which is probably like the least one of my favorite ways to fish for bass is the conventional kind of gear. So I was thinking like, well, I know that like my passion and where I have a lot to offer is actually in fly fishing for bass. I've created, flies, techniques. For years, I was just focused on that. So the swim bait thing kind of came by accident from seeing trout getting boiled on one of our early stockings one morning.
How long ago was that?
On a trip. So that was 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I saw this shit going down, and it was just, it like left me in shock. It was trout were getting boiled the way that we see, little shad getting boiled usually. And I mean, it like just impacted the shit out of me. It like left me like my eyes like, and the thing was I'd always known and I'd always heard about this swim bait thing, right? Ever since back when I was fishing like just the conventional stuff, even I was a kid, it had to be like I'm 42 now, and that was in my like 16 through maybe early 20s, mid 20s when the store Water Dog Willie's closed by my house. But that store used to have like the big bass tricks and some other, big giant, they had the Huddlestons, but they had these really big soft baits and stuff. And I'd always ask like, what is all that about? You know? And they'd explain, well, we have trout, they get stocked here and those big bass eat the trout. So it's something I always heard of, but it was something that always seemed like unattainable or those guys are doing something that I don't know what's going on. I don't have the gear. And it was, back then it was a lot more limited on what the gear that was available, the baits, the techniques. There was obviously no social media. There was no, nobody to just, hey, can I pick your brain for a little bit?
You had to learn all on yourself.
Shut up, man. Yeah. All right,
can I pick your brain a little?
I hate that question.
Oh, that's so funny.
And
fuck, dude.
So like Again, I already forgot.
When you were young, getting into the looking at the big baits, bass tricks.
Right. So I'd always seen those things. And then I had actually caught some bass on them because there was a time when me and my buddy Scooter Griffin that runs the other guide service in Arizona, the Arizona Fishing Guides, there was a time when we kind of got into the line through paddle tails pretty heavy. And we started like catching some fish on those. They weren't giant fish. They were under 5s. But for us at the time, it was like, whoa, those are huge. And like I had lost 3 fish that were very big. But again, it was like the flipping rod setup, braid, and trying to like fight it like how you fight a normal fish, which is, swim bait stuff is just completely counterintuitive to all that. And, very different way that you have to fight the fish, set your gear up. So there was losses. And then just kind of like melted away. Like, well, let's just go back to normal. It came out again for me in a time when we were out there during the spawn. And this wasn't like, I have bedfished before. Like, I've been through all the stages of fishing. I've been through the stages where you just want to catch 1 million of them. I've been through where you just want to catch big ones. Now I just want to catch them in a certain way. Like, I was, it was already like I'd kind of left that bed fishing thing behind. I was like, I don't want to. That was last year. I came out here every day and like every damn fish on a bed got, had to pay the price to be in there. Like, what are you thinking, And like, and then so the next year was like, I want to find them without that. And I just from kind of looking around, like I like to fish shallow a lot. And one of the reasons is because I feel like you learn a lot more. You're going to see things. You're going to experience stuff that goes on. So I was looking around and I noticed like one of the smaller, among the smaller bass, the sub, 2-pounders and the males that were in there, I saw some like start almost hitting another one, like mouth closed, mouth open. He wasn't trying to eat them, but it was very aggressive, like hits and boom, boom. Like I could tell they were squaring off and, some weird body language. So I pulled out that paddle tail and I would just cast it into those zones, bring it out, and there was 20, 30 of these fish would come out with it, especially at that time. Like, it wasn't a common thing for them to see at all. So it was just every coat was like, what the heck is going on? And I don't think I ever really caught a big one doing that, but it kind of just, again, like, whoa, there's something to these baits, and maybe they're not so unattainable as I thought. Maybe there's a way to figure this out. And so that was when, again, like that boiling incident at Saguaro Lake in the morning. It was a morning after our stocking, which like that always seems to be a good time to find them acting like that. It's like the morning after the stocking. And, I go there and it's just, that was it. Like that's what I need to focus this guide service on. That's the new thing. I had just come out of a stint in retail for 4.5 years too. So I learned a lot there. And
were you doing fishing shirts? Or
no, it was, I had a gun store.
Oh, really?
Gunsmith,
Okay.
And like a fine gun store. We used to sell a lot of like over-under shotguns, side-by-sides, rifles, like hunting stuff. And then like the economy crash, the election, that was when Obama first got elected. Anytime that a Democrat gets elected into office, the gun industry goes crazy.
Okay.
So, and what happens is like, you would think, oh, cool, well, sales go up. They go up, but real quickly, the industry, like they run out of product. So now everybody wants to buy a certain gun. You can't find it. We can't get it. And like our shells go crazy. But so anyways, there I learned about like chasing markets that are just too small and too niche. And maybe, it's the stuff that I might be into because I'm super hardcore and I've been doing this my whole life. But if you look at it really like in the, things are usually a funnel, especially like our kind of sports, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the majority of the guys are up here doing, fishing a certain way. And as you get down toward that funnel in a more specific and more technical and more, I'm trying to catch a bigger one or I'm trying to catch a, brown one or a blue one, whatever it is, like that's a smaller funnel always. And if anything from that retail, one of the failing in retail like I did, it taught me like, don't be chasing these little things. If you're going to be selling things, you need to be chasing that bigger market.
Yeah.
So like an example of that, I used to love carrying like the youth guns. I was like, dude, any brand that carries youth stuff, like I want to represent your stuff here. And sure, like when someone would come in with a youth, their kid that wanted to get that, they were like, man, this is the best store. Like, I can't believe you have this stuff. It's so awesome. Same with like ladies gear. I always try to carry like the ladies vests and some, specific stuff for them. And yeah, that one or two women that came in was really happy that we had it that time, but that one or two lady doesn't like, pay for the whole year worth. So that was some of the stuff I learned. And when I saw the swim bait thing, I knew that like, this is going to be the next big thing. it's going to be the next thing coming into the industry. It seems like, you know, the industry needed that at the time. And like, it's definitely got me. So let's go for it. And what I started doing was like, that was also when like social media kind of first started coming around. And
about 5 years ago, it was like Instagram kind of started getting a little big.
Yeah. And it was only because my buddy KC that did the patch hat thing. When I was setting up my guide service, he was like, dude, you got to get on Instagram and like Facebook. And I'm like, Instagram? Hipster fishing, dude. Like, come on. Like, I'm like looking for old dudes, bro. Like, that's going to be my market, you know? Like, come on. Who goes fishing? And here we are later where it's like, no, that Instagram made everything happen. And and so back to like, I went to Instagram to kind of look like swim baits. Like, what's going on out there with this world? Maybe here on this Instagram thing, I can find that. And one of the first people that I came up with was Oliver Nye.
Really?
Like, yeah, and he was starting out with his thing, and it was kind of like, what kind of freaking bait is that? Oh yeah, that's a triple trout thing. I had remembered hearing about it also because during that like time, kind of that cloudy time before this, like Ben Kohler of the Hookup Tackle in Arizona, he also runs the Hookup Outfitters, a guide service that I helped him build up a lot on the fly fishing side of things. When I got out of college, I came back and first I guided with him. Then I got into that retail problem, and then I got back into the fishing, the retail lesson, and then I got back into the guiding, and so he had the whole time he had like baits because his brother married a Japanese lady, and his brother plays music professionally in Japan, piano and like jazz stuff. So he always had that connection with Japan, and he also was always into like this cool swim bait stuff, but you know, kind of same thing. Didn't really have the time to be trying to figure that out. And, but he always had a display there where he carried like a few swim baits. Right. And so I remember some of the first ones that I bought from him that were actual like hard baits, swim baits, more than just like, oh, it's like a really big paddle tail or a really big worm or something like that, you know? Or this funny trout looking like rubber ducky trout looking thing. Like these were actually, these are doing something else rather than just swimming kind of with a natural tail kick. And they were the Lunker Punker. He had some 316 baits, the Wake Junior, the OG Wake. And then he had one of those times I go in there and he's got a depths. Like he's got the 250s on the shelf. And I remember I kind of looked at him and I was like, Ben, what's this thing, dude? It looks funny. Like, what's up this rubber outer shell type looking stuff? Oh, yeah, that's a depth slide swimmer 250. You know? What do you know about it? Not much. I don't know. It's supposed to be like big in Japan right now. Like, guys are catching them. Like, how do you work it? I don't know. Like, does it float? He's like, no, it's a slow sink. I was like, oh, okay. So wait, how much is this thing? $100. Like, get the fuck, dude. What do you think I am, man? You know, like when you're buying the $75 ones, you know, you already bought Lunker by the Way Junior. I was like, yeah, but that's $75 and that floats. Because at that time, I was like, again, there was no like, this has all been a learning curve, right? And when I never knew anything about casting bigger, heavier things. So it was like braid, right? Like, come on, dude, you're going to use like 65, 85 pound braid so that like I don't break this bait off and like I can catch this huge fish that I'm going to be fishing for, right? So my early days were with braid. So all the time, the thing just stops, you know, it binds in and it boom, and it zings off my bait. But that's why I was like, it's a floater. Let's go pick it up. No big deal. So now I'm like, wait, you want me to cast $100 bait that doesn't float? You're stupid. So I actually passed on that at the time. Wow. Yeah, I passed on that slide swimmer, which would have given me like a good 3-year head start to even the head start that I've had. You know what I mean? Like it would have been insane. But it wasn't until, you know, afterwards, and really for me it was that, you know, back to that picture with Oliver with the triple trout, and then I knew that like that bait I had kind of seen around and I kind of knew where I could find it, so I got some triple trouts, and that's really what like taught me. And I still kind of tell people, like, if you're new to swim baits and you're new to this whole thing, I get it because I've been there, right? I've been where it's like, wait a minute, everything I do is like with the rod or jerking or popping or like something like that. Right? I get crankbaits are just, you know, but I'm cranking the bottom, slowing, and then, you know, slowing down, picking it up. So like I always had like all the techniques in my background, but this new stuff was so different. Like, what do you mean you just retrieve? Like,
yeah.
Whoa. And then it's like, so do I go too fast makes it, get wonky, too slow, and it doesn't do it. So that triple trout really like helped teach me like, oh, these things have a cadence. There's a certain speed. And like, I bet that's when it's going to get bit the best, when it's really looking to me like it's doing its action, right? It's doing what it should, what it's probably designed to do. So that triple trout taught me a lot about how to swim them. And then it was like, then that slide swimmer came back into my life. And it was from a friend that can't really fish anymore now due to health reasons. He's an older guy, and he had these things. And he's kind of like, come over. Like, I think you're starting to figure out what this stuff was about. So he gave me that one, and he too didn't really know much, like couldn't really tell me what to do with it, how to set it up or anything. But, he's like, I took it out and threw it, and like the stalker trout was swimming with it. Like, oh wow, okay, cool. Like, let's try it. So then, I took that bait out, and with what I had learned from like the triple trout and this kind of new thing, it was like, oh, okay. When you start like just retrieving it, this thing does its own, the glide bait does its own thing. It's catching water on its own and it's moving it. And then it just became like a kind of a learning curve of like, what's it going to take now to get these fish to eat this bait? Because this whole time they've been following it. They've been like coming up with it. And I'm just like, I'm soaking this all in. It was this 1 month of November that it took me where it was just, I was so fucking excited every day to get up and get out on the lake, with my dog and see what we were going to learn today, what was going to happen. How was because it was like all of a sudden this whole open world was just like,
and you're doing this solo at the time, so you're just saying, hey, I'm gonna go
solo.
Do this.
And then I also had a buddy, Joey Jarrell, that was kind of there for that time too. He was an engineer, so he kind of had his own gig, but he also had just had a slide swimmer. So it was like, oh, okay, cool. It's not like I have to try to keep this secret from you or like blah, blah, blah. Like we're both going to learn together.
Yeah.
And we both learned. He would go fishing in the morning with me and then leave. But, that was like for the short time that he could do that. And other than that, it was just me out there on my own. And like that bait, the Slide Swimmer 250, I think it hit for me at a perfect time, which I realize now, like, another one of those things I keep learning the older I get, everything's cyclical. Whether we're talking about the hunting world, the bird hunting, the big game, the size of the deer, the quality of fishing, like it's all cyclical and it goes in these cycles. And that cycle was just a really good one. I can still look back at the videos. Most of the videos that I had from that, early stuff was like cloudy days all the time. We had really low pressure systems rolling in, pretty common. It was one of those years when our weather snapped at the right time. Right now is that crucial time. We're like, are we going to get fall or are we just going to stay in summer now until, January sometimes? So it was everything was lining up perfect for that style of glide bait to be the bite. Right. So it's I think a lot of I hear this a lot. They're like, oh, it used to be good. And then everybody started throwing it. And then, Instagram came around and ruined the fishing. And like, dude, I think there's a little more going on than just that. It's a wave. It was a bite. It was there. The fish were eating there. They were eating shallow. They were looking for that. Like it worked, and it taught me so much. I had so much experience with it going on, and I learned about body language. I learned like how these fish, what makes a predator like snap, what makes them take that ultimate step to bite another animal, because that is a huge step in like the animal kingdom. You see it, you have dogs here and stuff. Yeah. You see how it is. Like they will do a lot before finally, like when I finally put that mouth on you, there's no coming back from that.
Right.
And that's like full committal.
Yeah.
Full commitment. So that like I got to see what it takes, and I was able to really capture things that happened in all of my life. So back when you asked me, does my dad fish? No, he doesn't fish. I grew up with my dad hunting birds. He was a massive bird hunter. And then we both got into like big game hunting together, into what we do with it now. And so I was able to take lessons that I've learned and from antelope hunting, let's say. Antelope can be the easiest animal to go hunt on a rifle. It's a great thing. Like if you're new to hunting big game and you just want to go have a nice experience, go to New Mexico and go hunt an antelope. Okay. You're going to see a lot of them. They're natural, they survived the Ice Age, and they were there for the cheetah, right? That was their main predator. There was a North American cheetah. This thing their way of survival is to hang out in that pack. And then they have like a threshold that's like 100 yards. They will let you come in. They'll let you be 200 yards. They'll just be sitting there eating, doing their thing. 150 yards. Okay, no problem. Oh, you got 100 yards. I'm now like staring at you. Once you take that step, like 99 yards, boom, like they know.
Wow, that's
I
so
can run
interesting.
super
That
fast.
is so interesting.
Boom, I'll bolt and then stop and turn around again. And like, all right, what do you got on me now? You're 500 yards away. Are you going to start this again?
Yeah.
And there we go again. Right? So like, it's easy on a rifle because you can easily take a 200-yard shot.
Yeah.
They're just going to kind of, which one do you want? Oh, that one on the left. That one looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Do it on archery, though. Like, I've been accidentally drawn for archery. That was my first archery animal hunt, was a damn antelope. And I got like 70 yards. I got 40 yards of some, but I was so new with that damn bow, and it's windy, and it's this and that. Every time I would pull that stupid thing back and like let it fly, it's like they would look at it like, oh God, let me step
right
out
over your head.
Yeah. Okay, I'm out of here.
Oh, dude.
And but it kind of taught me, like, I never knew that about the antelope. How like it's fine with me being at a certain range, but then once I close that little range up, it's not comfortable with that anymore. And I kind of took that as to what I was seeing in the water with these largemouths, because at first I was swimming the bait too slow. And this is something that, like, one of the main lessons I would say that really like helped out a lot of people from Southern California in those first 3 years when I was really guiding like super heavy. It was real, like it was everyday kind of thing. The main like fix up that I had for people was the idea that like, nah, man, that bait doesn't work in California anymore. Our fish already know that. Our fish already seen it. It's over. It's too pressured. Blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, well, show me how you're swimming it. And it would be like this slow swim and a pause every once in a while. And you'd see this bait like just, barely catching water. And then it would like sink unnaturally and like click, 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 click. It was like, whoa, okay. Let me tell you about how I learned that thing. Like, I kept throwing it, and at first I was throwing it smooth and steady.
I know you're
like
talking
that.
about the triple trout right now?
This is the 250.
250, okay.
Yeah, because, we all hear at first, like, big bass. Okay, what's up with big bass? Oh, they're lazy. They're big. They're lazy. They don't go places for their meals.
Yeah.
They don't like to use energy. I'd heard all these things, so it, like, makes you go out and say, okay, if you're fishing too slow, you got to slow down even more, right?
Yeah.
You got to be even slower. Okay, that has its place and that works for certain baits. But for me, the Slide Swimmer 250 has shined a lot more by using it as a reaction bait, moving the thing, keeping that water moving so that it has momentum to, like, if you were to just stop, it actually like throws out and hovers before it starts to like lose momentum and die out. And a lot of the fish that I've seen, when we get a wrong kick or the bait just dies out, or when you would get too excited and like, at first I've never had 6-pounders and 8-pounders just come swiping at my crankbait all day long. Like, and now it's happening. I'm just like, oh my God, stop it. Let it, do you do it like a Senko, or do I kick and, do I get it moving? And, through trial and error, it was like, I realized they have that same kind of thing going on as like the antelope, where it's like the bass wants to be able to come up to that thing and inspect it. But if it keeps getting away from it, it infuriates the bass. And the way I tell people is kind of like, think if I just like came up to you and had a new candy. I'm like, dude, you got to try this new California candy. Great bubble, jubble, mumble bud, right?
Fuck.
CBD candy. Oh my God, dude, whoa. It's going to make you all calm. And I'd be like, here you go, dude, try it. And then, just kidding. And the first time you'd be like, you little prick, okay, come on. And then, just kidding again. If I do that 2 or 3 times, then you're like, I'm gonna take that chocolate and shove it up your ass, dude. Like, stop. Like, it's the same thing with the bass, where they're like, come here, let me smell you. No, come here, let me get a little closer. See what you got hanging there. I said, get over here. It's like shoot, and you're freaking like. And so, and it's this delicate game, because it usually happens, when you're by the boat, like it's coming out, and now you have to tease this fish, and you're trying to act like you're wanting to get away, but in reality, you're fucking not. You want to get eaten. You're trying to act like, there's this delicate balance, and you have to learn how to read that fish and know, like, it's throwing the signs. Some of the signs, gills flaring. You see them start breathing more. You see them like start moving their fins. They get excited. They get like, You know, they freaking friends start popping.
I love how you act just like him around.
They look all stupid. And they, you know, they get all lit. They even get lit up a little. Sometimes you can even see a little bit of color change happening. And that's like, you're like, oh shit, okay. You can tell how hot that fish is, how much you need to get away, or how much you need to let them catch up, because it's not just purely getting away. It's also like, yeah, I got to get away, but I need to give you enough buffer where it's like playing with a cat. You know, a dog, you can take a ball and throw it far, and the dog's gonna like, ah, he goes and get it. The cat is like, dude, that's too far. It's not even fun anymore.
Yes.
But if you have it like at arm's length for that cat, he's like, ooh.
Yep.
Oh, you try, huh? You try what you missed. So that's kind of like this. It's this really cool cat and mouse game, and I feel so fortunate that I was there for that. The bait had fallen into my hands. I had this time to like build up this guide service, and it all like came at that right cycle where that bait, like my guide service could have just been called Slide Swimmer 250 Guide Service for the first few years. Like we didn't need anything else. I knew that like, if I just put this bait in your hands, something today will happen. It could be 5 things that happen. It could be 10 things, 10 fish that happen, 5 fish that happen. It could be one. Yeah. But I know it's not going to be small. I know that like, it's probably not going to be a 5-pounder. It's going to be something 6 to 8 pounds. And, people had asked me kind of like, well, as pressure came on and as more people started throwing the baits, like, did the bite get worse? Well, actually for like the first 2 years, no, our catches only got more and bigger.
You were the only guide service at the time too, right? Doing that in that lake,
just the swim bait specific. Yeah. Like now some of, there were some of the other guides that had, like they knew what the swim baits were and stuff. And they could have been, their knowledge of fish is usually way bigger than mine. Mm-hmm. I'm not a guide because I feel like I know the most on the lake, or I catch the most fish, or I catch the biggest fish. I'm a guide because I just want to share this fun and this passion, and like share the fishing, my boat, the gear, the, everything about that. I want to share that. And that's like why I got into it, really. And
you run a center console too, right?
Yeah, it's a flat skiff. It's a Ranger 223 Cayman. I bought that in 2007 new because I had an older Bass 18.5-foot Ranger 375V before that. And we were out at Lake Pleasant one day. And Lake Pleasant is more like Diamond Valley. It's very open, deep, clear water, but it can get wind it can get gnarly out there. Like you get serious whitecaps, and like that boat, I almost like lost the boat one day, and it was one of those where like we finally made it back. We're absolutely drenched, whatever, that's fine. I was still able to like keep it under control as far as the waves. I've always been good with that, but then it got to the trailer, and it's one of the like the water was coming in, and the wave would come up and it would fill the trailer like completely. The trailer was completely submerged. Yeah. And then the wave would draw out, and it was like out of the water. And then it would be like, too covered. And then out of the water, too covered, out of the water, too covered, out of the water. So like I had 2 buddies with me, and I'm like, all right, you guys get out. We're going to I'm just going to come around the dock thing, and you guys like jump, and then I'm going to go over here. And I was lining it up, and dude, I had it lined up right. And I went in with the nose and kind of like, you got a time like, all right, I want to go in where that water is right. Yeah. Because if I, obviously I got to come in when it's right. So I came in, the nose went good. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. But then the waves were so big on the back that they started like, one came up and it like lifted. I was like, oh shit. And then another one came up and it like just moved the back and it put it like on top of the trailer. Oh. And then it keeps hitting. And then it's like my motor gets, I look back and it's the outboard is getting covered with the wave. Every time it comes over, it's coming over the outboard. And then the motor just cut off, I think, because all that water. Yeah. The motor shut down, and it's like, oh shit. And I'm like still sideways. My buddies jump in, and they're like in the water, right? And we're pushing it, getting the damn thing back on there. And like, it only took like 2-3 waves for, one wave, the outboard shuts down. Wave after that, every compartment opens up and everything flies out of there. At that time, my Sony digital camera, which was, like an expensive camera at the time, that thing went to shit. All my flies that I had like been tying and spending all these years tying on shit, those fly boxes went everywhere. Any other baits and gears and Lucky Crafts at the time was like, oh my God, my Lucky Craft box, it's like $50 in there. Right? Like nothing now, but like I lost it all. And I was like, man, I can't be doing this and out of this boat. And, like I need a bigger. So that's how that center console came around. It's a flat skiff. So it fishes like a bass boat. It's 22.3 feet. And so it handles that rough water insane. Like water is no longer, I just laugh now, like, we're going to get wet. It's not meant to be a dry boat, but like, we're going to be totally under control. We're going to be fine. I've had it out here. I've had it in San Diego. I've had it out there in the Horseshoe Kelp. So a lot
of the guys out here, like I think Reynolds and Benny Florentino run Rangers too.
Yeah, theirs are like the bay version.
Okay.
So mine doesn't have like the higher sides. It's not quite bay. Okay. Mine's more like a bass boat with a center console.
Okay.
So it drafts 10.5 inches of water. So I get in anywhere because that boat is meant for fishing the flats, right? Like having a polling platform on the back.
Yeah.
That's what that boat is like designed for. I use it in this other way, and it's so perfect for what I do. That full deck, there's nothing on my deck. I used to be one of those guys that had, 20, 30 rods on the deck. And now I look at it and it's just like, what are you doing with that freaking expensive clutter of shit there? Like that spot is to fight fish, especially when we're doing what we're doing. These big fish, you sometimes need to move around. You need to move them with you, with your momentum also, not just the rod and reel. Like, you're going to step on $10,000 sitting there. Like, right. What are you doing? And are you really like, hold on. Okay, no, hold on. Let me get this other one. Hold on. Let me check if I want to eat the punker. Hold on. Let me see if I want to eat that. No, okay, let's move on to the next spot. And like a little typewriter. Like, no, just, it doesn't really go with the way I fish anyways. I prefer to grab one bait and like figure it out and use that bait and use it when it works. Use it when it's not working. Use it when the conditions seem right. Use it when the conditions don't seem right. So you really know where it shines, where it doesn't. That's kind of always been the style that I.
So you'll be learning that bait for however long. Like it could be a couple weeks or whatever. You're just going to be throwing that bait, learning it different days. That's kind of cool way to look at it too.
Sometimes
I like that.
Even like there's even been times like when I wanted to finally learn the HUD. Right. For me, it was always like I got so into the hard baits and they matched my style so well. And like I said, the cycle was right. So I was on the right bite. It spoke to me. I was learning from it. I was on top of it. I was putting the fucking pieces together. Just boom, 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 boom. Like I know what's going on. I know what that fish needs. Ooh, these bigger baits. I know what's up. We'll put a front treble, front feather hook on this treble. See if that changes that behavior. Next time, there it is. And from then on, every fish on the front hook. So it's like I was just boom, boom, boom. It was like really on top of it. And then like it all kind of died. And then the cycles changed. We started getting into these heat waves. We started getting into these years where, drought cycle. We started getting into like, here we are in December and the grass still isn't gone. Yeah. And then golden algae, which occurs in our system naturally. It got a big fish kill. Sure. Luckily it didn't wipe out the whole lake as far as Canyon Lake, but like Apache got hit hard. Apache was above it and they used to have smallmouth over there. I used to do trips with swim baits on smallmouth. Little 4 or 5-year-old Henry had a 4-pound smallmouth on a glide bait out there. Like we used to catch them on the Hinkle trout. Yeah, we caught smallmouth on the Hinkle trout. Wow, blunker punkers, baitsmith. Like it was amazing and good largemouths.
No more smallmouth.
No more smallmouth there, dude. It's heartbreaking. And it's when like it's the like the double-edged sword of guiding. Like you're at the mercy of Mother Nature, and whether it's hunting, I also guide for deer in Mexico, mule deer and coos deer. Same thing. It goes through cycles, and we know like it's probably not gonna be a good year, but we go anyways, right? And it's just those cycles come around, and I think it'll obviously it'll come back. It's been 2 now that are like really bad, so it starts coming around, and this year we've seen some difference now. There are people starting to catch them. There's some conventional bites that start happening, and it's like, whoa, they're not gone. Like there they are. Yeah. So, and what's your PB actually? My P is only like 10s. Really? I don't like remember because it's just a 10. Like it's not like if it was like 15, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, bro, 15.255, 1947345.
I love when people
22 and a half, so 32 inches long and 34 centimeters by a girth of 595. That's right. Like mine's just like fuck. They're just in the 10s. I don't remember.
10 or something.
Yeah, just 10ers, and quite a few of them, luckily. But I've had experiences with other bigger ones. I've had some crazy.
What's your big get? Your one of your people that you've guided their big fish.
10
too?
Yeah, that was Nick Aaron from
cool.
Lateral Vision when they came down.
Really?
Yeah. So they've been down with me twice.
Cool.
The first time Parker caught like a big, huge 8-pounder on the Hinkle trout, and they all caught fish on that one except Nick.
Oh man.
Yeah, they all caught fish. I had like 3 people on the boat, Emmy, which I was kind of like, oh, it's always harder when there's 3, man. Like it's already hard enough when there's 1, but like, we can do it. Oh no, we're cool. And they're such nice guys. They're such like good people. And it's just cool to see them like so friendly to each other too, like they're really good friends and all that. And they had a great time, but like Nick couldn't make it happen. It was just like for some reason, like damn.
Yeah.
And then like he was really like watching and really like into it. And the one time that he slipped, right? Like it comes on this dock and it's the slicer, and I'm talking to him, and then I look down, and there it is. It's like an 8-9, and it's just like right under the bait. Looking at it like he had kind of stopped moving his bait too to like talk. So his bait kind of went from swimming to, and I looked down. Oh shit, man! Since I can't even get the words out, I don't know if I'm speaking Spanish or English. If I'm trying to speak Chinese or something. Just go, like what? Like, oh, we both see it like the tail of it as it goes away and leaves this big old, like spring water swirl.
He's like,
he's like, was that my chance? Shit, dude. So good thing was that it made him have to come back. Like he had to come back next year,
right?
And he came back with Bass Jack, which that was such an awesome trip too, man. Again, we just got the perfect trout stocking. That happened that evening. But what was crazy was even that day, we still by the time the trout got there, we had already caught like 4 fish. We caught I think we caught like 7 fish. We caught more than a limit.
Dude.
And we didn't, they didn't like to keep them in the live well, which I don't like to that much either nowadays. They didn't want to keep them in the live well, so we released them all. But it's like, dude, that would have been one of those pictures. I don't even remember how much.
One of those pictures.
Yeah, anchored by a 10, and he caught that 10, and it was a high 10 too. It was one that was like, oh shit, dude, I think that's over 10.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was a high 10. Big massive fish too.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest one. And then we've had some losses. Brett Williford came out and he had like one at Apache.
Wow.
That ate, followed up first the Hinkle with me, and then dude, throw that bait smith and follow it up. It comes up, it eats it. And it's funny because we all dude, when something this big happens, again, the words,
everyone starts flipping out, dude.
So me and Brett were laughing because he hooked up and he beats it. It happens right at the boat. So he beats it right away, and I'm fast with the net. I'm not slow.
Yeah.
And I know to grab it right away. I'm going for it. I scoop in, but I hear him he's like, Manny.
Like your kids yelling,
Manny. And I'm just like, I know. And oh, dude, right when I look back, and unfortunately he's just got this much line out the tip, and and
man.
I get that net under, but oh, dude, he thought maybe is it in there? I was like, it's not, bro. He's like, fuck, I thought maybe it would be one of those where we got lucky, and it went right in. No, we didn't. So we lost it. And of course, that's my way to anchor you guys in. He had to come for his second trip.
Yeah.
And then on that one, day one, bam, a beautiful 8.5 pounder, or maybe it was a 9, but just a beautiful stud fish. And it was just that is such a weight off my back, bro. And I'm just I know, man, me too. Now we can just enjoy, let's have fun. So
do you get a lot of people driving from different states too?
A lot of SoCal.
Everyone's SoCal.
Yeah, mostly it was, and definitely at first, man, I can't, thank everybody enough for supporting me in that, and everybody that's come out has always been just so amazing, such an awesome experience. They're all, around our age. We're all the same like-minded people. It's just been a blessing to make these friends. It's hard to call people clients. I don't like calling them that, but it messes people up too, because then they're like, so are you just going fishing with friends? Or well, no, technically it's a client, but it's it's the third time out here.
Yeah, but you're
he knows
cool with
me.
the dude, he's...
And then the setup that I had, which was for me, like what because I did go to college for tourism and business. So I kind of always wanted to do something in the world of this tourism stuff, whether it was going to be super specialized swim bays or whether it was just like, hey, you guys want to come party at the beach? You know, like I wanted to do something, right? Let's get in the tourism service kind of world.
Yeah.
And so from the start, I wanted to model my guide service more like what I was used to seeing in the fly fishing world. Because I've also, fly fishing is also a very huge thing. I've been an Orvis endorsed guide for many years, and now like the Orvis Pro Guide system or whatever. But it's always like, once again, I forgot what the hell I was talking about.
Your guide service, how you like modeled
so, yeah,
it
the guide
because
service,
you went to school for the whole.
So the guide service, like I wanted it to be more like a lodge setup. In the fly fishing world, there's lodges, and they're not a lodge with the idea that like, hey, a guide is gonna show you how to fish. A guide's gonna tie your knots. A guide's gonna teach you how to. It's not really that. It's more like you're coming on a vacation to somewhere like Florida, right? And like you're coming to a vacation, you're gonna stay here at our spot because you're gonna go fishing every day from here, and then you're gonna go with a guide, and it's more like you guys are going out to enjoy the fishing. Sure, there's gonna be shit you're gonna learn from the guide, obviously. And there's going to be things that he's going to want you to do a certain way and all that. But it's not this like lesson where like I think a lot of the bass fishing community seems to think that like going with a guide means like, oh, this guy was like tying your bait. Well, sometimes I am because it's like, well, hold on, bro. Give me that. That's a freaking Hinkle trout, bro. I'll try that. If the knot breaks, it's my own balls. Yeah, But like, it's not like that though, right? It's more like, hey, dude, if you already know this stuff, awesome. Come out and we're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have the boat, a freaking awesome platform to fish off, electronics, the new trolling motors, the latest gear, the latest baits, the hottest shit. Like go have fun. We can do whatever you want, however you want. This is what I know what's going on. You can build on it. I can learn from you. You can learn from me. And it becomes more of a setup like that is what I always wanted, more than the idea that like I'm a teacher or I'm beginning, I'm always like teaching you how to fish or the beginning thing. So it was really fun, and I set it up to where if you stay 2 days with me, I don't like if you fish 2 days with me, I include like if you're flying in, I'll pick you up from the airport, take you back, or you can drive in, and it includes your stay. So I have a really nice, this room kind of reminds me of the fish room, green with the, bass
you have
art.
like a little bed
I have one spare bedroom and then another spare bedroom that's the car room for the car freaks. And then the other one is the fish room. And man, so many people have stayed there and come through that. And there's like such a history to it,
Do you also?
I'm not gonna put up some freaking camera there, but like it'd be awesome to have like, hey, do this, dude,
catch everyone beating off in the fish
God, dude. Damn Manny, dude.
You can make a beat off compilation for the YouTube channel.
Yeah, the winner's in the other
room. What do you let guys like say they don't want to swim bait fish as much and they want to fish something else? Do you go, let's do it?
Yeah. So,
you'll do whatever they want.
Well, it's funny because that first time, that lateral vision trip, they had brought down like a bunch of gear. Yeah. Right? And the drop shots and this and that. But dude, once you start seeing like what's available, what can happen, like, oh, fuck that shit, dude. Let's do it. Give me that Hingle. You got a bigger swim bait?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, but we, another like technique that I like a lot is the spy bait. I have the spy bait kind of always rigged up for like anytime I see little blow ups or a little.
What's a spy bait? I'm sorry.
Spy bait is like this little. It's a Japanese kind of one of these newer Japanese techniques. It's a sinking hard bait. They're small. It's a sinking hard bait, and it sinks about a foot per second, so it's easy to count it down, and then it's easy to trace. So once you start going, it traces kind of at that same depth.
Okay.
And the cool thing, the reason I like it a lot is in many ways it's like a small swim bait.
Okay.
There's certain things that you want to be doing. The way you're holding it, it's a slow, really slow, steady movement that gets it. You want to think like just barely enough to get those props spinning. And what happens is this little stick with two propellers like becomes alive. It starts to shimmy. And then it starts to also tail wag.
Wow.
So it's like it's tail wagging, it's shimmying, and then it has these props in the front and the back that create, that sound and the vibrations and all that kind of shit. And the idea is that it's mimicking one of those little, fry or fish that you see when they break out from the school and you see them on the surface and they're all like,
yeah, yes.
It's like that's the idea that you're one of those guys that came out of the school. It's kind of like a finesse kind of hard bait, and it's like killer on small fish, and it's one of the only baits that actually this one was brought to me by Justin Wesseling.
Okay.
He had come out and, I want to do this, but hey, I've also been fishing the spy bait a lot back home. I was like, oh, I've been really interested in that.
Yeah.
To like, what do you know about it? And he, gave me his breakdown of it and the way he uses it. And I still kind of use it like that to this day. And we went out and we had 100 fish day.
Shit.
At Canyon, and they were like, well, let's see if we can do it again. I'm sorry, it was 50. It wasn't 100. 50 fish day, which is still like stupid. And then we went to Saguaro, and again, like the same thing. Wow. And we caught massive bluegill, caught crappie that were boiling along with the bass. Like, it's crazy. And the biggest largemouth I've caught on it was like 5. Like wow. I caught my little PB on that thing.
That's nice.
Well, and it's 6-7 pound fluoro.
Okay.
It's spinning gear.
Oh,
so
damn,
it's all of a sudden, like, oh, dude, he's kicking my ass. He's kicking my ass. And I'm like, fucking back to the tree, like ah. And with Justin, so Justin has come out and that first trip caught his like PB largie for a while. It was a 9 pound beautiful fish. And he's been back multiple times with sometimes just with that spy bait, kind of like, let's go see what we can do with just the spy bait again.
Yeah.
Or just the jerk baits and this and that. So, we do change it up. I do also do fly fishing trips that, again, it's a small, that's that bottom of that funnel, the guy that's into fly fishing that can competently cast a full line and was open to like fishing for bass on a boat for it. That's a little pool.
You get a lot of bass dudes that want to fly fish then.
I've had a few, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a few.
Or guys that are fly fishermen looking for that bass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Or just in that world, you also get a lot more to like, hey, I'm in town. I want to fish. What do you have? Well, this is what we have. Oh, okay. Because I also do like the stripers on the flies are really fun.
Yeah, I seen that.
I do that. Yeah. And nowadays I'm catching them 40 feet down, like on the sinking lines and all that. It used to just kind of be like a surface kind of thing for me or subsurface. And now with the sinking lines and really figuring that out, and with the electronics is really what's changed it for me. Like being able to know we're in the school, schools are pounding around right now, like cast 40 feet to the right, let it sink to the bottom, and boom, hook up.
Yeah.
So like that's really cool. But I also do trout fishing trips, small streams in Arizona.
Oh, cool.
And then actually one of the coolest trips, dude, the one that I really enjoy is carp on the fly. And
really?
Yeah, it's in my neighborhood where I grew up. The stuff that I grew up fishing was in my little neighborhood has a system of ponds. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started with the bluegill and then the largies. And then decades later, it was kind of like, dude, those big ass carp, like, how do you catch those?
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, they don't eat stuff. You worms, bread.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to catch them on these flies, though, right? And people are like, I don't know. Maybe they eat nymphs. Maybe they, I don't know. You catch them on a dry fly, maybe. The local fly shops didn't really have any reference for me. There was definitely no internet stuff on them, no social media, nothing. Mm-hmm. And I set out. I was like, I'm gonna figure this shit out. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make this happen. And it took me years to finally like sit down one time, like frustrated and just like, fuck, what the hell do these things do? Let me just stop and watch them. And while I was watching them, I saw that like this berry thing, like a fruit thing, fell out of a tree, and like 2 carp that were just sitting there being carp, doing nothing, just they all of a sudden like reacted to that berry falling in the water. And they're like, they swam to it, and the one like outcompeted the other one, like got you, And I was like, oh shit,
I'm
like,
going home.
Yeah, they're like, I think I just realized they eat those damn berries.
Yeah,
and now the berries are small. It's not like maybe at first I tried like imitating the berry, kind of the whole like match the hatch idea. And I tried imitating that berry, and of course it was too small. Like it doesn't really do it for them. They didn't really, like when it fell in the water, didn't do anything. They would swim right by it, not really care. So I was like, there's something more going on here. And I think it has to do with like, if I take a rock and I throw a rock in, they spook and they like, boom, they instantly know. But if I grab one of those olives or another one of these ficus figs and drop it in there, they don't spook. They know, and they come and eat it. So I put the shit together after a while. I was like, I think they're hearing it. Like there's some way they're sensing it with the vibration in the water.
They can hear the difference.
Yeah, we all know that like, rings in water is vibration. It's like sound up here. So I was like, instead of trying to make this thing look like that berry, I need to try to make it sound like that berry. So it took me about a year to develop a fly that floats. It has enough hook to fight and hook these big carp. They're grass carp. And the grass carp has the eyes on the side and the mouth forward, different than the common carp. The common carp is made to eat on the bottom. The grass carp is made to actually eat things that fall out of trees in Thailand and stuff like that. And it's made for that mouth to be in front. So I finally like narrowed down the materials, spun the deer hair, and out of like an idea that I was doing with Dan Blanton's style of a gurgler, I put like a foam backpack on it to keep it floating. And that fly has, I wish I could keep count. That fly has caught thousands of carp for me.
Wow.
It has tapped into something that like, you can't fuck with this. You know, like you cannot say no to this. Like,
did anyone do any like kind of article
it.
on it or anything like that?
I've had it stolen. I've had it like, I've had other people take credit for it.
Like people ripped it off.
I've had people rip it off. I've, you know, yeah. So like I've been holding on to it, and right now it's for me and my clients to just kick ass.
Yeah.
And when the right time comes, I can, you know, put it out to the world. When maybe I can, you know, put it with my name on it, maybe a series of my flies, because they all kind of have like similar things. So I've been kind of like keeping this, and especially once I've already got burned, because like I got burned with, this is funny, it's actually a really good friend of mine, KC, that did this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not, and then it just goes to show some of like the industry stuff, because like this isn't, it's not that KC ripped me off, and he would never do that. We're great friends.
Yeah.
He's done so much for me, shirts and this kind of thing. But Reddington was reaching out to him and kind of like, hey, you know, we want to like highlight you, you know, you got the right look, you got passionate about this stuff, like you got a good following. We want to come down and kind of see what you do down there in Arizona, like with, you know, these carp things that you're doing. Well, I taught KC everything about these carp. It was on my boat, it was on my flies. I'm teaching it, you know, I'm kind of like practicing my guiding with him, and like that fly, you know, was part of it. And like, so okay, and then he's like, hey, you know, Reddington's coming out, and I'm stoked for him, dude. I'm like, yeah, awesome. You're my buddy. I want you to like, yeah, dude, get in with that company, like have them take you around the world, have them go for you. Awesome. So can I borrow the drift boat so that they can, you know, because I fished that on a drift boat to make it feel like more like a legit fishing trip, and it's a lot more fun than just kind of, you know, going on the path, and, you know, walking by people and hold on, let me get you out of my, you know, neighbor's yard. Like, so I do it on the drift boat. They take the drift boat, they make this awesome video, and there's my flies, and they, you know. The thing was, even I didn't quite understand the fly yet. I knew that it had sound. I didn't know how the sound was being registered by the carp. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But the fly was already going. It was already perfected. We were kicking ass with it. I knew what was happening. I knew it was a sound thing. And like in this video, KC like gets a hold of me afterwards, because he's like, dude, the video came out fucked. Like, it is not what I wanted. I kept bringing your name up. I kept telling them, like, this is the person that made it. This is the person that did this fly. This is the person that actually taught me this. This is his home lake. Like, we're here on his, like, you're using his boat. Like, you know, this guy was the one that did this for me. Like, he's put me on this. But of course, what's Reddington gonna, you know, or that company, the filming company, gonna say? Like, well, hold on, bro. If we have this video and it's just you constantly talking about this dude who does this and also does stripers and also does largemouths and goes and fishes for pike out here and like all this shit, like, oh, should we be having him here? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I get it.
And you're not a Reddington guy.
No,
like
I was with Orvis, you know,
like...
and Orvis isn't really giving a shit about me. Like, they're not putting me on no videos.
Yeah.
They're like, he does what? Nah, who cares? You know, we got these trout over here.
Yeah.
And so like it was tough because like, damn, bro, yeah, they took the fly and then they kind of have them as like, you know, in the video, it's just kind of like a quick like, oh yeah, you know, I just whipped up these flies, kind of figured they look like dog food or pieces of bread, you know, or like an olive. And it's just like, oh, it's just like a bread fly. Like, oh, dude, that hurt more. Like, there's so much more going on. But the thing is,
he probably started like this. Hey, this is what Manny told me to do.
Yeah.
He told me to whip up these.
Exactly. This is a design that Manny came up with. But again, it's like, I get it. In the editing, he's not editing it. You know, it's not at his control. No. And, you know, when he tried, like, dude, I could, you know, if I don't like this, he's like, I'm not comfortable with this either, bro. Like, you know, would you want me to like? Do you want me to go ahead and try to like talk to them? And I was like, at first I said no. I was like, no, you know what, KC, just roll with it, bro. Like, it's not, you know, if it's gonna help you, like, just do it. You know, it's not a big deal. I still got my child, and we came out of it, of course, still, you know, friends. And what I think is really cool that KC did was like every time that video got posted, like people would, you know, it got huge. Like it got a lot of attention and a lot of people, dude, where are you fishing? Can I come with you? Can I go? Like everybody wanted to go do this. And what was really cool is KC every single time would like tag me and like, you need to go fish with Manny Chee. Manny Chee's the guide out there. Manny Chee taught me this. Manny Chee's those are Manny Chee's flies. This is Manny Chee's techniques. Dude, contact Manny Chee. Get out here. We're in Arizona. Contact Manny Chee. So like it, he did everything above and beyond
to make sure
right.
that
situation was right. But
it's just one of those things. Did Reddington ever reach out to you?
Fuck no.
No.
No, they had a good time with their video. So it's I've been doing this for a long time. I'm 42 now, and I've been through some shit. I've been through haters. I've been through like actual stuff like this, like getting ripped off, and getting your work becomes credit for somebody else, and it's happened. But anyways, back to that fly. Here's what was really cool.
Do you want a beer or anything?
Yeah.
Okay, let me text the beer lady, guys.
Okay, let's get it. Beer here. Aisle 3.
Yeah. She'd be like, "Fuck you, come get your own beer."
Yeah, get your own beer, too, Maxie.
We're at Home Depot yesterday, and I'm like, I had my work boots on and like sweat shorts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Hey, see the white lady has her Mexican come with her, don't?" Could you bring the beers out, please, honey? Thanks, bye. Yeah, and she gets so mad when I say that. I'll be like, "Hey,
what color, miss?"
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Exactly. And I'll talk like that. She'll get fucking pissed.
This color? Okay. Stop it. But so back to that fly thing. Here's what was really cool. So one of my trips out there, it's an older gentleman. He gets a hold of me and he's like, "Hey, my son, he just graduated medical school. He's going off to do his practice or his residency. Mm-hmm. And like before he goes, I want to take him fishing with you. And I see that you do these like, what do you have available right now?" So I'd give him the rundown. We could go 4 hours and hit some small hard streams that you're gonna get frustrated on, or we could go do this, we could do that, or we could do this carp thing. He was like, "Ooh. You know what? I've seen the carp thing because now, fast forward decades later, carp is a big part of fly fishing. Now they make lines for it. They make fly. There's whole fly sections for it."
When that happened to you, when was that?
When like the carp thing took off?
No, when the whole Reddington thing happened.
Oh, that was probably 3-4 years ago, like 4 years ago.
But you've been doing the carp thing for how long?
Oh God, I'd already been doing the carp thing like probably 8 years before that.
Okay, so you were deep into it already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was starting out the guide service. Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks, man. I was starting out the guide service.
I'm on diet, so you can have both of them.
Oh, perfect.
Go look at line them right up. There's an opener right there. Oh, the deer butthole.
Deer butt. Nice.
Yeah. Just let it drop. It's fine. Doesn't matter.
So this gentleman comes out and he's like, I kind of give him the rundown of like the technique, the fly, this and that, where we want to put it. It's under these trees. We're basically going to go hit up these different trees where these carp know.
Yeah.
And where I know that they migrate, they hang out and then they move to this over here, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like we just go hit up these different milk run spots. And I look back and the dad's kind of looking at me like, he's got this weird look on his jaws dry, like, and I kind of finish with the fly thing, it took me a while to develop this thing, I think, they're hearing it, blah, blah, blah. It kind of makes a reaction out of them, it can get them to actually compete for the food. And I'm like, why are you looking at me like that? He's all, dude, he's like, I'm really impressed. He's like, do you want, like, let me break this down for you to tell you what's really going on. He said, I actually did my thesis statement on the swim bladder as an organ in the fish. So he's like, yeah, in my college, like I ate a lot of fish because I had to like study the damn swim bladder, and like we'd eat the one that we're using. He said that swim bladder, it's not only for buoyancy, it also works as a resonating chamber. So obviously these carp don't have a lateral line, they don't have ears. How are they feeling? Are they just feeling this?
Yeah,
they are. And that's how all fish, even fish that do have acute senses and sensory organs and, all kinds of things, they still can feel everything in the water. And that's registered by the swim bladder, has that system of the cartilage bones around it. Those bones work like a tuning fork, and boom, the vibrations that they get sends that message to the brain. And the brain knows instantly that's a rock, that's a bass, that's a food, that's get the fuck out of here. Like, that's how that carp is registering that. And he's like, you somehow figured that out. Oh, like, well, actually, I didn't figure that out, but we got him. But he was really impressed, and that really took it to like another level for me. I was like, oh shit, like, okay, that I just kind of got like the science behind my fly. There is something going on to it, and yeah, it's like it's thing after thing like that you build that, because then I was able to take that into the swim bait world. So like when a guy asked me like, dude, that big stupid bait, like when that thing splashes in the water, it's going to scare everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2-pounder knows, get the fuck out of here. But that 6-pounder, that 8-pounder, let me tell you what's going on with him. His fucking swim bladder is fucking resonating and sending the image to the brain. It's just fucking making him say, I'm going to eat that. So like, oh, fuck, you're so smart. And, but yeah, it all transfers everywhere. You know, it all transfers and it keeps transferring. And the more, the older I get, like the more exciting it is to just keep melting all of this like human shit that I love doing, hunting, fishing, being outdoors, owning dogs, foraging fucking mushrooms, like all the shit that I love doing that makes me feel like I get this connection is like in fishing, and it's in the swim bait thing. And the answer to swim baits is always like, what's the most natural? That's what I love about it too. It's always like, well, what do you do when this is, well, what's the most natural thing? Like, think about how is the most natural way that this super acute predator that knows and like is constantly adapting to its environment and knows its environment really well. How is he setting up? What is that saying that like bass are lazy actually mean? To me, it doesn't mean that they're fucking lazy.
Yeah.
To me, it means that he's so efficient and so much smarter that he knows that if I set up right fucking here, the bait goes either this way and gets out of my way, or it goes this way and I get to do a short burst of energy and boom. So does that mean that he's lazy and fat? Hell no. It means that he's efficient. And it means that he knows I'm not going to spend this much energy chasing around a shad to get this much return. I'm going to eat this much, or, I'm going to eat that shad, but I'm going to like eat that shad by using very little energy. Right. So that it's always, and then that's the same thing in the animal kingdom everywhere. Right? It's always that caloric equation. It's something that I have no control on in my own life.
Neither do I.
I like to build up the calories.
Let's talk about gear.
Okay.
Let's what do you like using and what for line gear, and stuff like that.
So early on, when I like got all excited on the guide service, I had kind of before that, I was riding bikes. I've always rode bikes a lot in my life, and like I was riding the road bikes, the 100-mile racing stuff. I grew up with my dad, like doing that stuff a lot, do 100-mile bike rides, and had all these trophies under 18, first place, second place. Well, you were the only one, moron. But like I used to do that, and shit, I forgot again. Gear. So. Early on, this buddy from the bike riding thing, he's like got this internet, web page kind of building service. And I'm like, hey, dude, I need to set up a website for this like guiding. And he like kind of looks a little bit and he's like, look, dude, you need to put it videos and pictures. But like what I've seen, like you really need, like we know how you are out there on the mountain bikes. You're like the biggest fucking cheerleader. Like you're not the guy riding in the front. You're not gifted. You're not, you're not the strongest or tallest or have the, that kind of thing. You're not the fastest, but you're not the slowest dude either. You're in that middle of the pack and you're always fucking lit up. You're always so excited. You're always like cheering everybody on.
Yeah.
Most people just see somebody do something. They're just like, oh, yeah, fuck around, I can do that. And I'm just like, fuck yeah, dude! That was sick! Like, oh my God, you got so much air! You shredded that shit! Like, I loved it, right? And like, it's just, and he's like, that passion, show it in your fishing videos. So I was like, bro, I don't even like hearing myself talk. I don't like seeing myself on any of this shit. I'm not like, some people are into editing and all that shit. I fucking don't want anything to do with that crap in my life. But he's like, just do it. All right. Well, I'm starting up my business. Let's do it.
So this was what age?
This was 5 years ago.
So you started you started your YouTube channel then too?
I guess. It actually like, it was like, put it on Vimeo. Because at that time, he told me like, Vimeo, if we put them on YouTube, every time somebody goes to your website and they click on the video, at the end of the video, it's going to like shoot them to other people's guide services or swim bait videos and this and that. Like if you do it through Vimeo, it keeps you, the only thing that'll pop up is your next video. Okay. So we went with Vimeo, and then YouTube kind of like it was like my secondary place to post these videos. But I made this one video of just me out there with the slide swimmer, and it was when I was still trying to hide the slide swimmer. So I kind of edited it so that it never really like, here it is. And I made this video that I thought was exciting of some music I like ripping to, and like it was just like the excitement, and it captured it. It captured that excitement, the excitement I was having. These are some of those first hookups. These are some of those first misses. This is some of the first one that I flipped into the boat. It was funny because me and my buddy were just talking about like, dude, what happens if like one of these are going to eat right here? You're not going to have the net ready, and like that's when you flip them, right? Like, man, fucking both flip them, and right there, like 3 cranks in and fucking up you go. I was just fucking, I was so fucking pumped, dude. And like, shit was so sick. And I made that video and it like got a lot of play in the community. And Ben Donati was one of the ones that like one of the first ones that shared it.
Okay.
And
did you know Ben at the time?
I did not know Ben.
Okay.
I did not know anybody. It's just me out there doing my thing. And all I knew was that like a few weeks before that, when I was kind of starting all this setting up and the website and this and that, I was like, I need swim bait rods because these Shimano rods that I was using, they were a nice action, but kind of some of the typical problems with the swim bait rods. The handles weren't long enough. I'm like, cramping my wrist trying to hold that 400 fucking big ass reel. And I have huge hands, like huge extremities, but they're not that big compared to other people's. And like, so those big reels like just hurt the shit out of my wrist. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to end up with like arthritis by the time I'm 40 here if I keep doing this shit. Like, wow, swim baiting is it hurts.
Yeah.
And it really turned out to be because the whole setup was kind of wrong. And so anyway, I talked to Ben. Like I was the one that kind of reached out to Ben and was like, hey man, I'm starting a guide service out here. Do you do any like guide pricing or like, industry type pricing? Because when I had just come out of the retail, I realized that it's one thing when you go to a store. And even though I was the worst salesman to my business because I always sold people what they really needed. Because I knew like, oh, I've done that. I've been out there hunting for that. I know what you're going to need. I know what's this. And you try to line them up, but there's always kind of people that are like, yeah, but you're just a salesman. I bet you make more money on this one than the other one. And I'm like, actually, it's the other way around. And because I'm stupid, I'm not trying to sell you that one that I actually would make more money on. I'm trying to sell you this one that you would be happier with.
Yeah.
But once again, I forgot.
Went to Ben.
Yeah. So I tell that to Ben, and I'm like, hey man, I just got out of a retail thing, so I kind of know what your challenges are. And I know that like, dude, when someone came to me and was like, I went with this guide and dude, he had a Remington 700 and in this caliber, 7mm mag. And he had the, certain scope on there, dude. I need that same thing. Like I shot it. It was the shit. And like, yeah, I told you about that last week, but when I told you, it was like, you're a salesman. But when the guide tells you and puts it in your hand and actually you go and do something with it, then you're a full believer in that product. And that's how everything works. Right.
Yeah.
So I told Ben, I was like, hey man, I just got out of this and like, I think I have something to offer you because I'm pretty sure that this guide service is going to end up working for this swim bait thing, blah, blah, blah. I put out the video and like, do you want to do something together?
Yeah.
Because like about 2 weeks before that, I had sent a message to Dobbins and, I went on their website. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody in the industry and shit like that. There was nobody like, hey bro, can you talk to so-and-so? No, it was just like, well, there it says like for promotional, for pro staffs or whatever, send an email to here. Send an email, no response. Week later, send another email, kind of back up, no response. I was like, oh, well. I talked to Ben and he's like, dude, I'm a fan. And like, you know what? Like, yeah, let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
Right. And at first he was like, what rods do you need? I'm like, well, dude, I want to represent the whole like lineup, right? But let's start with like, what do you think is the most used? Okay, well, extra heavy, and a, double X, and I'll give them to you at this price, right? Like this discounted price. I was like, oh, awesome, cool. Fuck, man, that means a lot. And like, why don't you come down and kind of get an idea of what? And he was like, you know what, I really like that. Yeah, like let's come down and we'll see what you're up to, see what what you're working on. And he came down, and since then we've been like best friends. That's and cool. He sold me those one rods, like two rods, gave me one, and then from then on it's just been like constantly free rods. Which for my guide service, if I open up that rod locker, it's tens of thousands of dollars sitting there. That's been a huge, and it's not just the money that he's helped me out with, or it's not just that he's become like my best friend, and we're so alike in our family setups and just our setup in life and the stages of where we're at. It's not that I've just gained that from Ben. It's that also like his marketing, he was on top of that Instagram stuff, on top of that marketing stuff. His business was already, it had already kind of been established and like about to blow up. And with him and with the help of Swim Bait Underground, like they made this whole thing happen. I would not be here. I definitely wouldn't have this hat on. Fuck, it's sick as shit. I wouldn't be wearing the double digit shirts, but I wouldn't like even have all this open market to me, So like it would have been nothing without them. And Ben was the start to my business, really. Both his marketing and what I learned from him about like, I'd always been pretty good online. I never been one of those people that had problems like, knowing how to act, but him even more. Don't draw into the bullshit. Don't draw into the drama. Just if people say something, just fucking ignore it. Who cares? Like it has nothing to do with it.
Hard to do.
Yeah. So it was just like it was a big support and a big way to like even manage how like, because dude, my thing blew up like overnight. It was like all of a sudden I go from like a couple hundred followers to like thousands, and like what the, and all these people, right?
Yeah.
And so just like even knowing how to handle that and not become like some asshole, or not become irritating to some people. So I owe a lot to Ben, Swimbait Underground, Mike Gilbert. When the hard bait thing, again, it's a cycle. So then the hard bait thing kind of tapered off.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that shallow bite, that reaction kind of thing kind of mellowed off. And it's all of a sudden it's like, damn, bro, like something's going on. I'm not finding them like that anymore. I'm not getting as many follows. And if I do get a follow, I just can't get them to eat. Like, what's going on? And finally Mike Gilbert comes out and I was like, Mike, I need help with like this soft bait thing. What's up with this HUD? How do you use this shit? Because they're like, oh, some people tell you use it like a jig. You fish it like a jig. Well, when I always fish jigs, I fish them like Bill Dance. It was like pop, pop, reel in, pop, pop, reel in, pop, pop. Oh no, I drag a jig. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So already we don't even know what the hell we're talking about here. So, okay. So you pop or you dragged that HUD. Yeah. Super slow, rock to rock. Oh, wow. And how many fish have you caught like that? One? Oh, okay. Like a fucking teener or something? Oh, no, he's like 3 pounds. Okay, so fuck your advice. How about next? Oh, well, I just swim it through the water column. Really? What'd you catch like that? 12? Oh, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
So tell me more. Well, that was the only time that happened. Shit, that's not it either.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Mike Gilbert came and really explained, like, no, dude, it's a constant swim. Hold the rod like this. Keep, there's some certain basics here. Because I had tried to like get into the soft bait thing, and I would have these massive fish come and eat it, but I was making the common mistake of like trying to set the hook right away, right? Like a hard bait, like it had trebles on it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like it
almost
it
like
wasn't,
I've never caught one, so it's like a frog, almost kind of like
yes,
where you let it take it down,
and it's not like you don't stop like the frog.
Yeah,
it's actually like it's kind of like a crankbait, like that gets too like all of a sudden your crankbait's too like
yeah,
and you want to keep going into that. So the big mistake is to feel that hit and right away, boom, swing. Because what happens, and like if you see them in aquariums, they come up to something, they bite something, but it's not like this one swallow kind of eat. It's they bite it, they swim off, and then they reposition it and like,
yeah,
right? And they like gargle it down. Mm-hmm. They take it somewhere else, so like another fish can't get it out of their mouth, and they like, that's when they reposition it and it goes head in or whatever. So if you think about what's going on, if you pulled right away, that fish was barely moving off with it or coming at you with it, whatever. But you have to like reel down to check. So it's kind of like what I tell people is like when we were worm fishing, and you check with the rod tip and then you like reel up the slack and you like, ooh, and you felt the tick, like, oh, and you're telling your buddy like, hey dude, look, I just got a bite. Watch. When I kind of tighten up the line, see how he like tick, it ticks back? Like he's got it. Mm-hmm. And then like, hold on, dude, watch. And like a Senko or something, and it'll start moving off. Mm-hmm. And then it like eats, he's like, oh, now he's moving off with it. Okay, dude, he's got it now. He's got it. He's going to eat it. And then you like, what do? You reel down and then set the hook. If you just go from there to, like you snap the line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get too excited and you snap the freaking line.
Yeah.
So, and if you pull on it, boom, it like rips out of their mouth and they know like, oh, that was unnatural. And they let go. What I still can't understand is why, if you just retrieve it, they don't find that unnatural. Like it's still trying to like, oh, it's still trying to get away in my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat you now. But it's not like a time that you stop.
Yeah.
It's that you're keep going, but you're trying to feel that really tension. It's almost like you're trying to feel that turn or that eat thing once it's finally eating it, because what'll happen is you'll come down to it and it'll feel like a crankbait running too shallow.
And it's funny because you say this in all the videos. You see guys kind of get the bite, reel a little more harder, and then you see him go whap.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll see we have to catch up a lot.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that bait's swimming and this fish eats it, but he's following the direction.
Yeah.
So instead of like turning off and eating it over here, he's like, oh, I'm going to keep going with it over here. And that's why you see us like, oh, shit. Oh, like I don't feel it.
And then there it is. Yeah.
And like there it is. Yeah.
And now the question next, what line do you use?
Oh, so yeah, and the gear. Let's go to the reels.
Yeah.
So with the reels, at first, again, it was that idea of like the big winch, the Calcutta, that big winching idea. But the thing is, like those have like low gear ratios, and with the glides, I found that I prefer for the reel to be able to eat up that slack. So, that glide is all about like slack and then pulling on the slack, pulling on the slack. And what that bait does with that slack, whether it eats it, glides it, throws it down. So for me, I realized like, I want a high speed reel.
When you're doing the glide bait.
When I'm doing the glides.
Okay.
And the reel for me, which like it came out around that time too, was the Daiwa Z200.
Okay.
That thing was so sick. It was just one of those that like I looked at it like, oh my God, if I'm ever able to have one of those reels, that's when I know, like, I'm a badass. Like, that thing is so sick. And there was a few guys out here that have, that they're Z-Gang picking pictures, like Z-Gang, because the reel's $650.
That's a lot of money.
But it's the shit. It was like originally kind of designed for snakeheads, I think, as I remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's originally designed for snakeheads. So hard fighting fish, hard gears, and but actually throwing like smaller, well, they call them bigger baits, but they're those big crawlers and stuff. And so I was just like, I gotta get that, and I did. Like,
what were you using before that?
Just like the Shimano Calcutta.
Okay.
I guess my faster reel was like a one of those other Shimano.
The Corrado.
Not the Corrado, but the shit. It's one of those Corrado models, the 300 size.
Okay, Tranks,
not the green one, but the silver one.
It's Tranks then.
No, it's old. It's older.
Older? Is it circular?
No, it's got a spaceship look.
Spaceship.
I forgot which ones they are.
Yeah.
Right. I like buying them because right now you buy them for like $200, $250. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're shit. But they're usually good. They're Shimano. So, I had that, and then like I finally got that Z, and like, oh dude, and I changed out the handle for like, I like to change out the handles for longer handles. I feel like those give you just better control and better manipulation of that cadence, that certain turn that you have to do to get those glide baits working, and then the speed. So like that Z came out, and then now like Ben at the hookup gave me a Z2020. That's the JDM version, and it's the depths version. And for a long time, like in the Facebook groups and all that, that's kind of always been the controversy. Well, what's the right reel for a slide swimmer? Well, I like these ones. Wow, this dude's fishing them too fast. No, it's not that I'm fishing them fast. It's I'm fishing them under control. And then this new Z, it already comes with the upgraded handle. It's an 8-to-1, which is a speed faster than my 7.
Yeah.
It has like this nicer, not like I'll ever be hearing drag coming out, hopefully, but it's got this nicer like clicking drag sound, and it's just everything's like it's all souped up. And that reel that I had for $650, Ben's got them on sale for $399 at his shop.
Shit.
So like, dude, you gotta get them. And then they have the Depths logo on them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they were done by Depths, and it's kind of like, oh, now years later, like, hey, I'm not the only one that agrees that a fast reel, this style, is the way to go for a glide bait.
Yeah.
Like Depths also agrees. Like this is what they made specifically. And this is not the Manny Chee version; it's the Depths version. This is done by their own. So that's the reel. And then with the reels, like I love Daiwas. I love Shimano's. Those new, the new
I have the old one. That's a TE.
Oh, the TE. Okay, yeah. So the Conquest, like the new Conquest.
I don't have that much money.
Oh, dude, I know. It's another one that's like,
yeah,
I only have one. But yeah, that Conquest, like the 400 size now fits in my giant hand. Just fine. It's a much smaller thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reels. I keep different reels. Like I have, I can't like just go with one. There's been times when Abu was like on top, and it's always been a struggle because it's like it's been crawling up this swim bait industry, and now our options are more open. But for a long time, it's like, fuck, we need the gearing on that one, but with the speed on this one. I need the speed on this one, but with like the ability to handle it like this one.
Yeah.
I want, like it was like all the features were spread out through the companies, and nobody was really, the swim bait thing wasn't enough. And I get it, it probably cost millions of dollars to make one of these damn things, and the tooling and all that.
But it's cool to hear that you aren't a homer to just one.
No, yeah, you can't.
You'll open your eyes to different models.
I do think Shimano is making right now a lot with the Trank series and with the with the Conquest, where I could probably go all Shimano now, but dude, my Z, like, you know, like the Z, the Plutons, the Ryogas, like, you know, Daiwa just makes too much good, nice stuff too that I like. It's always, and you know, the thing I like about the swim bait shit is like the gear is so fucking sexy. It's the shit. And it's kind of like what I see in, you know, when I was in the mountain biking world, the downhill shit is like the most extreme stuff.
So we could talk about that. You know, I used to own a bike shop.
Oh, really? No way.
My brother-in-law was pro downhill.
Oh, like an actual pro.
So did you race in your 20s?
I didn't really. I'd done a few races, but racing wasn't. So I was more of the shuttles, just doing shuttles with the local guys.
He raced for GT.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
okay.
He was on the cover of Mountain Biking magazine like 4 times.
No way.
I used to ride downhill.
Yeah, you used to do it too.
Well, I rode in X Games like a long time ago.
No shit.
I was into street and flatland and stuff.
Oh,
so that's what I grew up doing.
Nice.
I got like a huge like 60 something stitch scar on my leg.
Yeah.
Crank arm broke off, went into my leg, jumped in a gap.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Cracked my head open. Yeah, dude. 3-piece. Crank arm broke off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, went right into my leg. But yeah, I used to ride bikes. My brother-in-law still rides. He gets shit from Yeti.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Yeti?
Yeah, he's a big Yeti guy. He's got like a crazy frame.
Those are sick bikes.
But yeah, he got me into riding, and I used to ride around here. There's some good trails.
Yeah.
Fullerton Loop's cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I used to Carbon Canyon was cool. Yeah.
We have really gnarly stuff in Phoenix.
Oh, I'm sure.
South Mountain.
Only thing we do is Big Bear when it would be, off season.
Yeah, and for ours, that was Sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah, the like,
cool, dude.
you know, those kind of rides. And my last bike was a Cove.
Really?
Cove Shocker.
Yeah.
And that was my shit. And,
no time anymore, huh?
It's, you know what I stopped was because I got scared. And you can't be riding that shit afraid. You know, at that time, I had my gun store and I had employees. So it was like, yeah, I could go and like fuck up my shoulder and just be like, Kevin, reach up there, bro. I went riding again. Yep, I'm fucking shredded. You know, and every weekend I would come back just like, they'd be like, what'd you do now? Well, I went over the fucking handlebars, bro. What do you think?
Yeah.
But I was learning, and I got kind of too scared. And I was like, if I'm gonna be fishing and guiding, and you know, I'm gonna try to be taking dudes out to the streams, like I can't be like, oh, dude, I can't even fish.
Yeah.
You know, like my arm, you know, because I did a partial tear on a sholdder, and that kind of scared me. Like, oh, dude. Like, luckily it was partial. It all, you know,
healed back.
Now
you just got a clicking, right?
No, I don't even have that. Luckily.
I got the clicking.
But I really did everything that I could find of, like, you know, walking your fingertips in the shower, going in the pool. Luckily it was like time when I could be in the pool.
Yeah.
Like, I really took care to like treat it right.
It's scary. My brother-in-law, dude, he just he was at the Fullerton Loop, dude, and he went to he's like had issues. He went over the bars, bad accident.
Yeah.
Had like this is like fucking real bad issues.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just I'm like
pins and that's like some of the dudes that I would ride with that were in that front of that pack that were gifted that could do shit that I could never do on a bike. This motherfucker's getting like pelvic pins put in right now. The other dude's getting like a neck thing.
Crazy,
and I was like,
right?
okay, I think like
I'm done.
Maybe the next step isn't like, you know, doing a freaking Superman or, you know, letting my hands off the handlebars. Maybe it's just like calming it down.
Yeah.
So that's why I stopped doing that like extreme kind of the mountain biking. But what I liked a lot was like how the technology starts up there in that gnarliest, you know, where it's pulling the most from the bike, pushing it to its fucking limits. Like that technology is what ends up trickling down to the race guys, the guys that are XC, you know, the dudes that are going up the mountain, not just down. You know, you see it all. Those handlebars used to be like this. Now they're even rocking the big wide bars. So all that technology trickles down. I think that's really cool to see. And that's the same shit I see with the swim baits. It's like all that cool ass shit that we're realizing, like, this is what this needs, this is what that needs. It's like these companies are finally, like, they're starting to trickle it down.
And there's a lot of swim bait companies now.
There's a lot of options, both in baits and rods and reels. But, you know, it all trickles. And, like, you see it even in your conventional setups over there. You know, you see the longer handles now. You're seeing, like, you know, bigger gears or whatever. So it's just, like, I love the gear side of it, too. And the gear is so fucking sick, you know, like this is shit. The rods look like freaking katanas, you know, like they look like they're
like katanas.
Yeah, like it's just, and for me, it's like such a pride thing that like you know, I've always been into like very like this human experience, you know, and how lucky we are to have this fucking experience in this life and the human thing and the history behind it. And when you take things like fishing and hunting, it's something that like, you know, there's pyramids in Egypt. We will never probably know what they were doing with them, what their meaning was, what they, you know, why they did it, but they could manipulate rock in that way. They lived they obviously lived a very natural life in tune with the earth. And what did they do? They hunted and fished. The same that we do.
Yeah.
The same shit that I'm doing today. The same shit that I will be doing Saturday in the mountains with a guide trip. I'm passing on that knowledge, that art. And this is where that art has gotten us in 2019.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of years later, through fucking cataclysms, through ice ages, through extinctions, through, changes in the environment. This is what we're doing, and it's the shit. Like, it's so advanced, and like it's it makes my hair stand up. Like, I'm so lucky,
you're
so
pumped
fortunate
about it, dude.
to be
you love
able
doing it, dude.
to be the one holding that flag and carrying it on and passing that art to the younger kids.
Do you have
to
kids
the other.
yourself?
I do not, man.
No?
I wish I did. I'm an uncle. I'm a
that's
badass uncle,
cool, yeah.
and I got my little dude. He's 2.
Not married.
No, not married.
Man,
it just hasn't
42,
happened. Yeah, I know.
dude.
It's probably not gonna happen now. But, no,
Yeah, you lose a lot of that
love
time,
I
dude.
would love all that. And for now, I'm just a badass uncle, and like that little dude's he's done a lot. He's already been out with me scouting
cool,
for
man.
deer for his dad, and we saw freaking the wolves out there. And
No way.
Yeah, we got to hang out and watch the wolves. It's not like he knew what the wolves were. He's just kind of like, oh, Hemi's over there. But like, it was the first time I'd ever seen the wolves out in nature, and we sat there and saw them in the spotting scope, and it was awesome. So yeah,
Do you have a brother then too?
I had 2 sisters.
Okay, so
Two sisters. I'm the oldest.
Do they do any fishing? or
Nah.
hunting? No.
No, nobody.
Do their husbands?
No.
So
Not
you're
really.
solo, huh?
Yeah. It's always just been me. Even like my best friend circle and stuff. Like, it's always like I had my best friends, and we did our city stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like I go either alone or with my dad to go do. And as you get older,
Now you got more hunting buddies, I'm sure. And
yeah,
dudes that
definitely.
you
Like,
fish
if
with.
I want to take people with me, I go. There's people to take.
Yeah.
If I don't, I usually prefer to be alone, man.
Really?
Yeah, like even the bird hunting, sometimes I just go me and Hemi. I'm never quite alone. I'm always with my dog. And
Yeah.
that's another one of those like human experience things that just like, that shit makes me cry sometimes,
Dude,
like,
listen to this. I got a story for you. So you saw my dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had 2 of them. I had one named Bolt, Black Mastiff Lab. Then I had my one in there. And I just posted this on my Facebook. So I have 3 sons. I have a 15, 9, 2. So when my 9 was about 1, the other dog got real aggressive towards him.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get rid of him. So we took him to her dad's house in Tehachapi 9 years ago, okay? We go back to visit him Sunday. So I go up to the gate, and her dad had like some big pit bulls. I'm like, ugh. I was going to open the gate because it's a big acre. So I see my dog, and I go, Bolt. And I see his head pop up. And then I go, Bolt, come here. And I see him run like aggressive and stop.
Yeah.
And he starts barking and like getting happy. I'm like trying not to cry in front of my son. I'm like, fuck. This dog still remembers everything. I tell him sit, speak, shake, did everything we used to do.
At first he didn't know who you were, right?
Until
at
he
first
came
he didn't
up.
recognize
Until
it,
he came up,
kind of like,
and then he was like, yeah. I was like, oh fuck, he still he remembered my oldest son, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The dog.
Yeah, when we think they don't have memory, they don't remember that.
You know
like,
what movie
dude.
fucked me up was the same movie that probably fucked you up. The dog movie with Owen Wilson.
Oh yeah,
Molly.
Yeah, Marley and Me.
Fuck that movie, dude.
Yeah,
I watched it. I'm like, fuck, bro.
No, dude. There's another.
Oh,
short
the race car one too that came out looks pretty bad.
race car. Oh yeah. Something about racing. Racing with dogs or something.
And the guy dies, and the dog.
Any dog one is always like, you fucking. Here I go, man. Bring a towel.
Right?
Not crying. Fuck you.
Is that your like first like dog? Like
He's not. He's like my third, and he's my third healer. So
Okay.
my first one was Rusty. He was like totally fell into us on accident. He was supposed to I was supposed to be a middleman.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to go to my uncle to like go be psycho in Mexico in a ranch.
Okay.
Like go fucking be crazy over there and bite people and shit. Like we go and pick him up, and this dude was ugly. Like Hemi's like a good looking dog. Now.
Yeah.
They're pretty, and
they're all
shit.
the same type of
They're all
dog?
the same type, but they have a lot of variance in their coats. There's reds, there's blues.
Are they hunting dogs?
No, they're herding dogs.
Herding dogs. Okay.
Yeah, they're cattle herding dogs. And I, this one fell into my like life by accident. It's funny when we went to go pick him up. It was like my dad worked with the lady. She was like, "Hey man, I got this dog. He's in the wrong spot. Oh, perfect. I got this freaking ranch in Mexico. Blah blah blah." So we go and pick him up, and I had never experienced an aggressive dog. I've always experienced dogs that like bark at the gates or stuff like that. And the second you walk in, it's kind of like, oh okay, no big deal. This dog, like it comes out, and this old man's holding like holding back, and he's like got this leash, and dude, you would think he's like holding back one of your dogs, and it's this little freaking healer. And I'm like, the fuck? And I was like, yeah, and he's like, stay back, he's mean. And I'm like, oh, it's okay, I like dogs. And I'm like, hey, come here. Whoa! Oh shit, dude, like he really tried to bite me. He's like, yeah, no, I told you. Like, oh fuck, dude,
he's an asshole.
So it was like around Christmas time, and it's my dad and my 2 uncles in a Jeep Grand Cherokee that I had. And we put him in the back. We didn't bring like a kennel or anything. We just thought like, oh, it's gonna be this dog. Put him in the back, dude, and my uncles back there, they're both from Mexico. They like, what? It was like the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. They were like, they had the jackets over. He's like, Manny, don't drive fast, okay? Don't drive fast. Don't take that turn too fast. He's getting mad. And the dog would just
for no reason, just back there.
Anybody
pissed.
walking down the street, any animal, anything, or just randomly. Oh, just slow down. It was hilarious. So then we get to the house, and I open the lift gate thing on the Jeep, and this fucking dog, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna, he's gonna stand there, and I'm gonna grab. He fucking boom, he bolts.
Oh fuck.
Oh, so here I am like chasing him down the freaking neighborhood. At this one point, I'm just like, I'm just gonna say fuck it. Like, who is this dog, anyways? Right? Like, ugly ass crazy dog. Like, just. I don't know, Dad.
Fucking
I couldn't find him, bro. Sorry. And I wanted to do that, but I just couldn't. Finally, he runs under this truck, and like I get under there, and it's like, how am I gonna do this? And I had the leash in my hand. I'm kind of like, come here. He's like, okay, that's not happening. And I look around, and like, oh, there's a palm tree leaf that had fallen on the neighbor's house, like one of these neighbors' house. So I grab the palm. I do like a lasso thing with the leash. I grab the palm tree leaf and like, come here, come on, you little fucker. God, got him. All right, get the hell out of here. And then I got him by the neck, and I'm like, let's go home, you piece of shit. We put him in the garage in a crate. This is in the winter, so it's not, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not cold weather or hot weather. We put him in there, and it was like anytime that you had to go out to the garage, it was like the Tasmanian devil was in a box. That whole fucking crate. I was like, wow, man, this thing is insane. So we go hunting where I'm supposed to meet my uncle in southern Arizona, and we were going deer hunting. And I let that dog, like, it's like, hey, we're out here. You got nowhere to run now. And I was like, I'm just going to try this again. And like, he's probably thirsty or hungry. I'm going to bring him some water and some food and like open up that kennel thing. I gave him that water and that food. And it's like that second, he just like, he licked, he ate, he drank the water, ate the food, and then looked at me. It was like, all right, you're the one. Like, that's it.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, fucking, what are you talking about? Yeah. And like that whole trip, like we would sit around the campfire and like he would jump into my lap.
Fuck,
and he'd be in my lap. But the first time I'm kind of like, oh, he's shit, fucking dude.
Bite me, dude. To bite my fucking nuts off.
Like, good boy. Okay. And like somebody else would walk by and he'd get protective of me. Like, whoa, they turn around. Yeah, bro, just go over there. And like that dog ended up teaching me so much about how to train a dog. Because we had a lot of stuff that we had to work on together. We had a lot of shit. I didn't want you barking at every person walking by. I don't want you, jumping out at bikes. I don't want you like barking, doing this crazy shit. But I understand, like, I need to teach you. And he taught me how to teach a dog like that. By the end, that fucker was so smart. He made like most of my friends go out and buy healers. Like after that, my friend groups had healers. Because like if you're his or his best friend, like he would die for you. Yeah. If you were a stranger, he'll fucking eat you. Yeah. Like, yeah. And but he was like a 5-year-old kid, dude. There was one time I realized that he knew what stoplights were because I had him in my truck and or in my Jeep, and I'm watching the stoplights, and I kind of look over him because I like watching dogs when they don't know that I'm watching, right? It's always fun. And like I look over at him, and he's looking up and then looks at the cars, and like the lights change, and he like looks at the light, it turns green, and then he like looks at the cars. Looks at the cars, looks at the light, looks at the cars, looks at the light, and then he's like, he starts like growling at the car. And I'm like, looking at him like, go. Oh my God. Yeah. And then the car went and he was like, he like let out that like, and then like looks at me and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dude, you're crazy.
You're like, you want to take the wheel, motherfucker?
Right. Like, when are you going to just start driving, dude? Like, oh, man, he was amazing. And he had a story like yours when one time we were meeting up our buddies, our friend group at this party. It's late at night. I open up the car door. They're kind of like deciding like, screw this, let's go to somewhere else. And they're coming in like this big threatening line. And they're all laughing and, kind of messing. Blah, 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 blah. My dog jumps out and he starts running at them and just... and they're like bawling at them. He's like, fuck, dude, you're not coming tomorrow. Shit. His hackles were up, freaking looked like he had a vest on. And my buddy Max was one of those. He's all, Rusty. And he heard that and it was like,
skid.
The tail goes into the legs,
shit.
Ears go down, his butt like drops in the bottom. He probably peed himself. I didn't see, he's just like, oh my God, it's you guys. Like, I was gonna kill you guys and all.
Which is so funny. Like, it's just so crazy that when you see
their
a dog,
brain and how they've evolved to read us. They know us better than we do. They can fucking save us from, epilepsies, from cancers. Right? Like, dude, nothing else knows us like that in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
We don't even fucking know each other like this.
No.
And we've been evolving for so long. It's a bond that's been happening for so long. And it's just one of those things that, like, dude, I don't want to live a life without a dog. Like, I can't. It's part of the human experience me.
Always had that kind of dog.
Since then, Since then, it's been
what
just
year
healers.
was that? How old were you?
I was in my mid-20s.
Okay,
early 20s. Like,
okay,
early
so
to
that's a long
mid-20s.
time having.
Yeah.
How long do they live?
I don't get more than like 10, 12 years out of them.
Really?
Some people, like my friends, have had them for 15 years, but mine live life. Like, we do shit. We go deer. He's the second one that I've trained, and I can hardly call it me training. It's just we ended up freaking kicking ass at dove hunting, retrieving doves, retrieving quail.
Yeah,
he's an awesome quail dog because he doesn't like run out. That they're a herding breed, so they like to be by you, and they like to always be like, when they get too far, right away they're like, oh shit. Is it cool? Can I go? You know what? I'm just gonna come back. Hold on. They're always coming back to you. So they're never the type that, like, it's not like a hound where their instinct is to go find something and follow it. Their like instinct is to like do shit and like, what do you want? Okay, right here? No, okay, over here? Okay, left, right, left, okay, left. They always want like you to tell them what to do. So in 2 times, like I always, those two have had like a good ball drive and a frisbee drive. So like I just kind of take it as that, and I make it like it's a game, and like it's a retrieval game. So bird starts flying, I shoot the bird, I run out there, whoa, yeah, good job, good boy. Grab the bird, I take him back to where we were standing, good boy, and then it's put it away. No more. I don't want you smelling it. I don't want you looking at it. You put that away. It's dead. It's done. Game over. Like, that one's done. Next up. And like both of my last 2 healers on the second bird, they're already like bringing it back.
Way.
Like, they catch on. Yeah.
That's awesome.
They catch on really good.
Yeah.
And like, especially my last one, he died young. So that's kind of where that lapse of time doesn't fit in. He had a liver, just a bad liver at 5. He passed away, liver disease and all that. It was hard and shit, but like, I love it all. But he was like super ball freaking, I don't want to eat. I don't want to do anything. Throw me the frisbee. And he was awesome. He would have like, there was a few guys, friends of my dad's and this and that, they would come out and they have like their champion dog in Montana. He's in fucking training right now. He's like the number 1 fucking bloodline. He's with the number 1 trainer in the country. It's costing me fucking, $10,000.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, wow, shit. Okay. So we go hunting, and dude, I've had one guy like, Keith Ward was like, fuck you and your dog. He's like, what the fuck? I spent so much money and time on mine. He's gun shy. Like, he won't even return a damn dove. And here's this fucking, he like, dude, that guy used to like bring 2 at a time, or he'd like be bringing one back and like see some fly and stop and look at them and look at you. Pow, pow. And you miss. And you're like, God. And you, go, and you come back.
That's so
it's
funny.
amazing. And it just makes it, it makes me want to go and hunt every morning, where maybe if I didn't have him like that, it wouldn't even really be that. I'd be like, I got some in the freezer. I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the dog, it's almost like he needs it as much as I need it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool story to hear.
I take him archery hunting with me.
Really?
I've been 40 yards of deer, 90 yards of deer with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I've had times where like it's a group and like there's a couple bucks and there's some does. The does are onto me. The bucks aren't quite onto me yet. And the does, we're just having this fucking standoff where it's like, don't fucking move. Like, you got to wait until once they start eating, you can kind of
Yeah.
Hide a little better under that
and
rock.
He knew, huh?
Oh, I looked back because every time I'm like, oh God, what's he gonna do? And he's just like, he's laying down next to me, laying down. But that fucking standoff like took a long time. And I was starting to like, ow. And he just gets up, and I'm like, Hemi, don't. Damn it.
That goes my chances.
And he gets up, but he's not like looking at the deer. He just gets up and he's smelling over here and like scrubbing. And it's funny because I see the deer, the doe's like, oh, just that fucking dog. Okay. And they go back to eating, and I'm like,
almost,
oh shit, this dude worked out like a blind. Like I was able to sneak a little bit more. So, yeah, I take him even big game hunting with me.
Do you do bear hunting up there too?
I don't hunt bear too much, too often. I when I was young, in my early teens, I went bear hunting and I got a monster Arizona bear.
Oh, okay.
So it's in like the AZ record books. It kind of misses the Boone and Crockett record books by a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it was a huge bear, huge from, stuffy from my age and everything. And I think that kind of was the one where I was like, I've done that at its biggest. Like, I don't think I need to kill another bear.
Yeah.
But I'm not against it. I totally understand why we hunt them and the benefit of them.
But for a game like that, you're like, I got what I wanted.
Yeah. It's kind of like, dude, how am I going to get a bigger bear than that? And like, I don't, I like to eat everything, and the bear, it's just kind of,
it's hard to get the right one, huh?
I hear that they're all great and all this and shit and bear meat. You hear it on Joe Rogan's podcast all the time. You're like, fucking bear meat. The blueberry bears and the fucking this bear. Like, I'm just like, I
don't believe it.
Bear and javelina, let's go elk hunting, deer hunting.
Yeah.
But I love the food side of it too. I'm super into food. I love cooking, and I love that connection of like eating the stuff that as it's always different when you're eating something that you've done or you're preparing something that you've done. That's such a connection to the earth. And again, one of those human experience things. That's just like, I see that loss of connection so much in other people in today's world that it's like, dude, this, like, you need to do this. Like, this is important to, not only like I feel so much better, digestion's better. You eat that stuff like elk and deer, and then you go and eat like beef, and you're just like, dude, this stuff is shit. Like, I can tell, the way I feel, the way it's like hitting me, like.
So you try to eat as healthy as possible too?
I mean, I eat everything. I'll eat burgers, cheeseburgers too. And sometimes I hit up McDonald's, and I just like food, man.
But when you're at home, you'll make like some elk
definitely,
or something.
Yeah. It's always like elk, or this last time, with the yellowtail. So now I'm like searing and the bellies and the pokey and the
that's my first time making pokey. I made pokey.
Oh yeah.
My son,
it's fun
my
to
oldest
make.
Son, I made him
fun and fast
for his birthday. I made him like shit. Like a whole big plate. He turned 15 of just sushi.
Yeah.
I'm like, here you go for your birthday. He's stoked,
Nice,
So now I'm like, whoa, I got a shotgun. It's like a decent shotgun. And
you do?
Yeah. So I'm like, fuck, maybe I want to go a little hunting, dude.
You gotta go to Arizona, bro.
Well, my uncle and my cousin used to be a fly guide in Idaho.
Okay.
So they're both big hunt. My uncle, my Uncle Rick and my cousin. So they're like, whenever you come next time for family reunion, we'll get a tag for you. I'm like, I think I want to, because I mean, it'd be cool to have meat. My wife's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
The baby's a vegetarian, but I'm pushing fish on the baby a little more.
Yeah.
But the rest of us eat meat. So
yeah.
And she'll make us whatever.
The doves are fun, but the quail is even nicer. Like it's a more white, meat and stuff. The quail is even better. And I love, like, I've gotten into picking mushrooms like in the last 2 years too. Got a video flagged on Instagram recently.
I was like, I saw that. I'm like,
I got that.
Why is it flagged? What the fuck, dude?
It's so funny because like I pan over to like Hemi. He's just sitting there. I don't know, maybe his wiener showing or something. They didn't like. But Hemi's sitting there, and I'm like, good job, Hemi smelled these out. Yeah, right. And I'm like, you didn't fucking smell no mushrooms. And I'm like digging them up, but they're like a lobster mushroom, and the lobster mushroom like looks like cooked lobster. It looks like a cooked lobster. It has this orange color.
Yeah.
And it actually tastes like lobster too,
no
depending on what it was growing on, because the lobster mushroom is actually a parasite type of mushroom. So there's a host mushroom before that that it grew on. They say, like, in where I am, there's no real mushrooms that are like super poisonous. Where like, dude, you ate the mushroom that was growing on that mushroom, like, oh shit, and he died. That's not gonna happen. But it's just kind of like affects the flavor profiles more. So like, I found one and it was like real pretty, but it didn't really have a lot of taste. But a normal lobster mushroom tastes like lobster, so it's like really cool, and it has the consistency of it. And I was just digging that up, but I could see how maybe
it looked like bloody.
The algorithm
maybe, or
thought
something.
it was like guts. Maybe they thought Hemi found a gut pile or some dead animal, and I'm digging it up, and then I'm gonna eat it and fucking make it sushi or something. Like. Nah, dude, it's just a fucking mushroom. But I love the just the foraging thing and all that. It's just, again, more of that. There's on the way home. There's a tree I found lately that has apples, bro.
Oh, really?
It's the fucking devil's tree, and it's like right next to the stream. That's like our closest trout fishing to Arizona, to the valley.
Okay.
So like when you need a break from the heat, just drive up there.
Oh, you have a video of you grabbing an apple too.
Yeah. So that's like I found this apple tree, and then now I call it the supermarket because like there's these fucking apples, and then now there's also blackberries like growing there. So I'm picking blackberries, I'm eating apples, and then I'm like, wait, oh shit. There's a fucking grapevine there too.
No way.
They're growing these little black grapes, dude. I'm fucking picking grapes. Oh man,
that's
I
so
love
funny.
This shit,
that's
dude.
so funny because on the way to see the dog and her dad in Tehachapi, he lives up that way. There was like a grape. They had to pee, one of the kids.
Yeah.
And there's grapes hanging, and they're like, I'm gonna grab some. I'm like, all right, I don't know anything about the outdoors. And they ate them. Like, these are the best grapes. They washed them off, ate them. I'm like, dude, yeah.
It's amazing, man. The flavor is so different.
Yeah,
anything
that's what they're saying.
Eat and herbs that you grow at home and stuff like that. Yeah, I love that shit, dude. It's again, just start that connection. It
seems like
it's
a lot
hard
of it,
these days.
A lot of it to use is bigger on the connection too than anything.
Being a human, because that's so hard now.
Yeah,
like it's awesome that we're living in this time where everything's so easy and everything's so given to us, and we're not scared of animals. We go to sleep like. Think about how many millions of years humans went to sleep like, oh shit, dude, it's nighttime again. Like,
something's gonna get me. Anxiety before night. Yeah,
like we live in such an easy time, but it's also so easy to like disconnect from it and to make make bad decisions and just do things that like, man, I think you're just getting yourself further from it all, not connecting to it.
Do you try to like keep off the phone sometimes?
I hate it. I don't like it. I see it as ugly to like go places and just everyone's like head down, like I definitely see the ugliness of it, but obviously, it's made my life happen. It's made my business happen. So I still like, I have to use it like that. And I do have fun with it. The stories and shit are like pretty fun sometimes. So like, I like to have fun with it. And of course, it's brought on friends and relationships and random stuff, all kinds of shit. Like it's brought on all kinds of good things, and baits and manufacturers and getting with Optimum Baits. Like, come on, dude, I would have never have had that with if I wasn't part of any of this stuff. So it's a double-edged sword, I would say. It's
which I think everyone says
you need to know.
Yeah.
You need to know that like that's one thing, Earth and this life is another, and they both need to be catered to. I would say that's kind of how I look at that.
Yeah, I want to get back on the line because I like swim bait.
Yeah,
I like knowing. So like a couple different dudes, like Matt Peters, kind of like throws a completely different line than like Gilbert threw,
right?
And then
yeah, and when it comes to that, like in even this whole setup, it's a lot of it is like it's what works for me where I am in that specific time.
Okay.
And the one thing about fishing is that again, one of those things that I learned is that it's really about adjusting to every like different little condition that happens all the time. And so for me, in my kind of lakes, I do not have, it's not like DVO where I have like trees, right? I don't have the risk of like abrasion, of running off, losing fish or losing baits to abrasion. I have primarily rocks, right? Like shoreline, rock cliffs, and ledges, like down there deep. So for me, on the hard baits, I take a lot of this as just your basic fundamentals of fishing, right? Sure, it's a big swim bait. It's still a basic fundamental. Treble hook to me always meant mono line because of the stretch. You want to have that stretch for the first initial impact. It needs to have that stretch and then that rebound that inserts that hook into them more. So when you have that rebound working at it, it's not just, people get caught up in like the negative side of it stretching. Well, the other side of that is that it wants to come back to its original state too. So you're always having a little bit more tension going on. And the other thing too with these hard baits, they put the line through a lot. So you want to be able to be like changing that line pretty often. And this is more like do as I say, not as I do. I shouldn't be so lazy, and I should like re-up my line, change my line every trip. But I usually, hey, dude, we're super tired. We just got back. Like, we're going to go eat, and we're racing to go to dinner before the restaurants close, and then we're racing to come back to get enough sleep to go up and do this again tomorrow. So, like, I can get 2-3 days out of it. It's not a big deal. But it is good with that mono to be able, something like big game or Iserline. So, and the difference that I had to go to there was because when I started messing with reels, like the Z, reels like the Pluton, they weren't designed for big 20 to 30 pound monos. They're designed actually for like braids. And so that is, you're having to check line diameters, and you have to be more conscious about, okay, what does this brand offer me for line diameter? What is this one? So I kind of have, like, I always have 25 mono. I have 20 pound mono at home. I have 20 pound Iserline copoly because I like the copoly, has a little bit better diameter. And then I have 25 pound fluoro, and I have 20, and then now like even 15 that some of like the bite has gone down size, and we get some of like the 6-inch citizens, those smaller baits. I told Mike, like, what the fuck? Well, you probably got your big stupid setup, don't you, with 25 pound? Yeah. Well, fucking downsize that shit. Okay. Yeah, it works a lot better. So that's why, like, and again, the fluoro on the soft baits, it's the idea that, well, there we're trying to bury in a hook or down deep. I don't want stretch there. I don't need that rebound thing. I just need to be able to grind down, and when I hammer that hook, it's boom, it's going in and it's staying in
what
there.
What kind of fluoro are you like using?
Cigar is the one, yeah. And a lot of it too is just.
Will you do a back?
Yeah, I don't fill them all the way up because it's expensive, dude. And even though I get things that I get deals and I get this and that,
Yeah.
I don't get free line.
Yeah,
and no line pays me a check. So like, I don't like spill some of them. I don't even fill up all the way. Like the 400 Conquest, if I fill it up all the way, I find it becomes really easy to backlash for people.
Okay,
I can kind of control it, but even I'll fuck up too. And like I see it just kind of be a little bit out of control, so I don't fill it up all the way.
Maybe 3/4 or something.
A little bit more than 3/4, but somewhere in there, right? And then on the back, I have like I'll grab like my 30 pound mono and just bulk up and then go, because those have too much capacity for what we need. Yeah. But the reason isn't for like the amount of yards on the line. The reason is that so that you can get that 20-30 pound line and not have a big variance in your retrieve from when you're out there to when you're here. Yeah. Because if you don't have that going on the 400, a wide enough spool, it gets a big variance just by physics. That like when it's out there, the line's behaving, it's picking up a different amount than when it's up over here and there's more line on the spool and it's picking that up. So that's kind of my line. I like 20 pound line on the soft baits, but the problem is that like we're starting to get a little bit of quaggas and it becomes real easy to nick on that stuff. And I also found that like with the 20, with those heavier, like the 10-inch HUD and the 9-inch battle shad and stuff, when you get a backlash, it's like that kink happens in the line and it's way back.
Get rid of it,
right? And it's way back down there. So even though you pulled all your line out, you got it back, you cast it again, and then it's like you're fishing and you're coming up over this ledge, and maybe it's a fish, but it's probably just a fucking ledge, and you're like, oh, fuck. And you're like, fuck. That was one of those nicks that I had in the back. So that was the only reason I started going to 25. Was just for that. But if I had other conditions,
that's like, but you're saying on something 7, 9, 12. The smaller battle shad do maybe go 15.
15, yeah, 17, I think it is. Okay. Because it's like those, they're odd numbers, so it's like 17. It's 17 pound line, fluoro. Yeah. So, and that would change if I had different things going on. If my water all of a sudden became super clear, maybe I'd be a little bit more worried about getting bit. Yeah. And like, being with that clearer fluoro. So that's why like, I know that guys out here like to use fluoro for the hard baits a lot, for the glide baits and stuff. And I totally understand why. I get it. And also like nowadays, we used to just be able to like fish that glide bait subsurface really effectively. Now it seems like you have to dip it. You got to sink it down to their level more. Like you got to get it down there. And the fluoro helps for that. Sinking, but it's not like it's not like you can't do that with mono. I do it with the mono too. Yeah. But yeah, the fluoro sinks, the mono floats. The only one I stay away from is braid. Like that's just, there's something about, and I'm finding out that there are braid brands that are better than others. Maybe someday, I'll be like super stoked about a braid that doesn't seem to bind in a lot. But that's just such a problem where it's like, fuck, man, like you're working on my patience right now. Make me snap my rod because like I didn't mess up. It's the fucking line. I want my money back.
I didn't mess up.
It wasn't me. So like, yeah, that's what's up with the braid. Yeah, it's just hard because I think the Berkeley one seems to be one that's like now made like it's like woven instead of like
I'm a Power Pro and I like the Daiwa. Jade braid's pretty good.
Yeah,
but I fish salt more, like a lot of calico more than anything. So it's like it doesn't really affect me much. But last year, I remember I went on one trip by myself to Diamond Valley. I talked to Charles and I said, "What do I get?" So he told me get some 2S waivers.
Yeah,
about 3.
Nice, good job.
So
good thinking.
So about first one I lost in about a half hour because I backlashed on braid. I didn't know.
Yeah,
and then the second one
slow sinks.
And then the second one,
they go so fast when they're not connected.
Dude,
right?
$100.
They go so far.
I was $100 in, and I'm like, "Fuck this." So I had one. Was it Gancraft?
Yeah.
I bought Joe from Performance.
Yeah.
So I threw that, and then my wife's on the phone. I'm like, "I'm fucking leaving. This sucks." And I'm not thinking of the way you say about reeling because I was probably reeling wrong the whole time. So I'm just kind of going. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be home in a minute." And I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" And I see a fucking play 8-pounder behind it. I'm like, Oh my god! I think I fucking got it. I'm on the phone, and the fucker turned and hit it, and I was like, oh, it changed the whole. But when I went with Charles, he kind of like showed me the deal and bring fish out. So this year I'm probably gonna go with Seth a lot and try to get me a good swim bait fish,
Nice,
because it's,
dude. Yeah,
that's the goal. But
I'll tell him to quit messing around. We're supposed to go lobster hunting tonight.
That's what he told me. Yeah, dude.
I just night swinger.
Night swinger. Well, dude, thanks for coming on. This was a real fun one.
There is something more though. Dude. There's something more I want to add.
Let us know.
So there's something I want to add that isn't just like the fun and the laughing bullshittery and all this stuff. Laugh at me that we do. There's actually something serious that I've been like. Again, one of these things that I've been figuring out lately. Okay, so lately I had a friend from the bike world that reached out to me and they said, "Hey, I work with Trout Unlimited now, and I want to book a few trips with you for some guys. Can we bring two people or one other one, besides us?" Yeah, sure. Let's do it. I'm thinking like, well, he's probably going to be bringing in from people from Trout Unlimited that are like coming in to visit Arizona, like fishing guys, trout guys, probably fly fishermen, like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. We'll take them to Lake Pleasant, just for a little day trip and see what's up with the stripers. We go there and it's actually not that at all. What was going on was he is kind of like, it's almost like Trout Unlimited and him is almost like lobbyist kind of work. So he's not just doing really cool stuff like snorkel counts of trout in the river and stuff like that. He's also doing things where they're flying to DC and they're working with politicians because right now what's really big in their world and what Trout Unlimited is working with is this public lands debate. Like what's going on with our public lands, how we're going to manage our public lands. That's a huge issue out west, right? Arizona is predominantly public land. So a lot of that hunting opportunities, fishing opportunities, they're on BLM land. We're the owners of BLM land. That belongs to us and it belongs to the world. It's the only system in the world where anybody from anywhere can come and go hiking, can go hunting, can go fishing. They can enjoy this land. We set the program, we set that up for the world. It's not just for us. So it's a very delicate system, right? Like a very awesome thing, very unique thing to the U.S. What's going on with that public lands and those trips, they weren't the Trout Unlimited guys. They were actually assistants to my congressmen and my senators.
Oh, no way.
So he's kind of like bringing them out. So like most of these guys are people that have never really been fishing. They live in Arizona, but they didn't know there's a lake, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he kind of like brings them out like, hey man, let me expose you to why we like this, why we're into this shit, this cool boat, this guy, this guy fishing, the electronics, it wasn't like fabulous fishing, but we were catching fish at least. And he kind of, as he's talking, it's kind of like a networking and kind of a schmoozing thing, Hey, what does your congressman think about that new, do you think there's going to be any power in the blah, 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 and they start talking and I'm like, oh shit. Okay. That's what's going on this trip. Yeah.
Smart. So, very smart.
One of the second guys, they come up and they start talking about some, they start talking about policies and stuff. And then I kind of talked to him after like, hey man, I thought it was going to be this other thing. And I'm realizing like, you're doing this like political thing, right? Oh yeah. Flying to DC and, we go state the case for this. And he's like, would you ever want to get involved? Like, I think it would be a big merit for like you being a guide, someone who's like passionate and works in this outdoors thing to go and speak in front of like the politicians in DC. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I don't want to be fucking struggling guide my whole life. Get me up there, bro. Come on. So like, absolutely, dude. Yes, love that shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, great, I'll send you an email and stuff, and blah blah blah. We'll talk some more. When I got talking to him, I realized he like broke it down for me. How like he's like, yeah, I'm bringing those people out here because we're trying to get them to come to our side of this public lands use. And of course, how you gonna have a feeling for public land if all you ever do is sit on fucking Facebook and the computer all your life, and you've never been outdoors, and you're from Arizona, which, the outdoors is an hour away from you, and you've never taken the balls to go. So he broke it down that like these politicians, they need us to tell them what we want done in our public lands. So he's like, here, I'm going to send you these links. Contact, these are our congressmen, and just let them know, hey, I'm Manny Chee, I'm 42 years old. I'm a fishing guide. I love hunting and fishing on our public lands. In September, I love dove shooting. Then it turns into quail hunting. And then, my fishing season, I love fishing for bass. I want to see bigger bass. I want to see trout. I want more catch and release trout fishing, right? I want to have bigger species of trout in our streams. That's what I want. I don't like the put and take fishery where you just, put in rainbows and then promote it to everybody so that they come and kill them. Like, that's not the kind of fishing I'm into. I'm on another level of it. I'm an outdoorsman. This is my passion. This is what I do. This is what I want to see done. This is what I want you voting on. And like, this is what I want you representing me as. And just telling them like what it is you want, and I want this for my future generations. And this is something like we can all do this, right? This isn't something where like, oh, we have to all get together and, fly fishermen have to accept bass fishermen.
So anyone can go fill out this
It's
form.
almost like, dude, we should all as outdoorsmen understand that it's our responsibility and it's our power to do this. The way that there's been other crazy things passed where, we were talking about this the other day, like, oh, now you can't fish on this part of this park. Now you can't go over here and do this.
Yes.
Well, now, it caused problems. Why? Because somebody bitched and complained that, oh, the ducks are being hurt.
Yeah.
I only care about the ducks. I want to see the ducks live on our ponds. If nobody else is sending these congressmen, we're not, I know for a fact, because I haven't been doing shit. And I know all of my other friends haven't been doing shit like this either. Yeah, we all bitch about things on Facebook. We complain. We fucking, I'm going to fucking start a group. And blah, 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 blah. That doesn't do it. The way it's done is like our representatives need to understand. And because the other side of this is doing that. The other side that wants to take this away and change what it's doing with our public lands, they're very active. They know January 1st, send in your letters to those congressmen. Let them know you want this or you want that, right? So like it should become our culture that it's very easy to do. It doesn't take time. This isn't like, you don't have to post this. You don't have to fucking, I voted today kind of thing. It's just like, hey, just get a hold of them. And it's a letter or a phone call. An old school letter. You just put it in there.
That's what they want.
That's what they want because they're able to keep that like a track of that.
Okay.
And they're able to say, hey, shit. All of a sudden, I got like 50 or 100 letters from constituents. I didn't know that fishing was like, I didn't even know we had lakes in Arizona. That's the sad thing that fucking comes out of their mouths usually. Fuck. I didn't even know we had fucking bass fishing. And these guys are talking about like, this guy sent me his picture with him and his son. And this dude, and he says that he wants to fucking, make sure that that the game and fish keep stocking trout in our lakes. That's a big one out here, right? Yeah. Like that's the one that I hear as an outsider. They're not putting fucking trout in our lakes. They're fucking taking our money. So contact your fucking congressman. That's how it gets done. Because enough of you contact it, enough of you get together, and it's not even getting together. It's just your responsibility. If we do this, that congressman can say, shit, there's a point where they're like, dude, I have to change this because their only goal is to get reelected. So if they're constantly going against what you want, they know like, I'm going to lose this job. But if I do what these people want, they're going to be happy and they're going to keep voting for me. Yeah. Right? That's how the world works. So that's how things get passed, and that's how like we need to like really, again, it's not even come together. It's just understand that this should be like, this is our power. Well, let's take advantage of this and let's just everybody get into the habit of doing this once a year where you reach out to those people, tell them what it is you're into. I do doves, I do this, I do big game, I do fishing, I only do fishing, contact them because eventually they will be like, dude, who the hell is in charge of these stupid trout at this damn lake that they keep talking about? Like, will somebody get that guy on the phone? Hey, man, you're fucking with my election here. Will you figure out that these stupid trout, how to get them in the truck over there? Because, dude, they're riding my ass about this. Yeah. Do it. That's how things get done. Yeah. And that's the reality. And it's how there's been insane things that have also gotten done like this, insane that are wrong. So, like, it's up to us. I think we should all really you know, I it's just kind of lit into my butt here in the last couple weeks. And it's almost like, dude, is this kind of like my thing? Like, should this be my thing? You know, should this be what I do?
It seems like it should be, man. You seem very, you know, like well spoken on it. And
like, it seems like this should be what I take in. Like maybe this would be something that I can do for good with that following that I've built with the, you know, name or whatever the shit, or just people that allow me to come on their podcast like you, right? And spread this information that like, hey, like, it's time we wake up. You know, maybe it's just because I'm 42 now that I'm realizing this. But dude, if I had been on this since I was 21, would things be different? You know, would I be able to go hunt dove at that same spot that I used to 5 years ago that's now closed off? Because that spot was only half hour from my house. I fucking loved it. Right? So like what happened there? Something happened where, well, enough of those people, we don't like the gunshots. Dude, I love the gunshots. I love the smell of fucking gunpowder in the morning, right? My dog fucking goes crazy on this. Like, we need to keep this. I want to pass this on to my little nephew, you know? Like, so that's like a huge, I don't know. It's like I want to start a movement that like gets this going.
What do you think we could do? So maybe.
So here's one thing. I think that like for one, it's not that easy to contact these people. Like I kind of just loosely tried like Google to kind of like come here and be able to be like, hey, these are your guys's, right? It's hard, dude. Right away, you start like you Google it and you start finding like these websites that want you to set up an account. This website wants your email. This website wants you to do this, and it's like, whoa, dude, how come this isn't just more easily public knowledge? So I think that's one thing. That's one battle first is like, how do we get this real easy? So like maybe it's a Facebook group, maybe it's an Instagram page. I don't know.
Which I think works because like on a littler end, we needed a stop sign. A car ran through my fucking front yard and almost through my house. Yeah. There's a dude that listened to the podcast that was with the fucking city. 2 people. Yeah. And they on Facebook, they kind of like, hey, do this, this, and this. I work for signs for the city. Yeah. So maybe there's someone listening that's going to go, hey, contact Manny, dude, and let him know, hey, maybe, or, you know, like we could figure out someone locally that can do the same thing for each city you're in, you know.
Somebody out there that maybe works in this a little bit more than I do or something, like use me as a platform. Like, let's do this because I've always been very into conservation, you know, with my father in his work in hunting. He's created conservation programs in Mexico and like, you know, brought back wild sheep to mountains that they were going, you know, they were in trouble there. Brought not only like that, but opportunities for the local people, medical clinics, schools, you know, bettering the whole environment. Like I grew up with that style of conservation in my family. So like, I think this is it, man. Like this needs, it's so simple. Yeah. It's something so simple. I'm not asking for purchase this. I'm not asking for just do this. I'm not asking for, hey, all of us come together. All of us come to this meeting. None of that at all. The same shit. I've seen your fucking screen time. It's fucking 45 minutes you're on that fucking phone. You know what I mean? I know mine is. So like, fuck, dude, one of those minutes, can we just put that into your fucking passion? That the thing that you love to do, that you fucking post everywhere? Like, let's do this. Let's make sure of it. Like, it's so easy. Yeah. Let's do it. You know? So that's just one thing that I wanted to use this platform.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe, you know, if someone wants to reach out, I mean, I'll try to help with what I can. And I'm sure Manny will be down to help. What if they want to get a hold of you guiding service wise or
Instagram, Manny Chee, you can send me a DM. But those DMs, I will say this, sometimes you like accidentally push the wrong button and it deletes like the people that you aren't following or this and that. I know. So yeah, there's Instagram, Manny Chee, Facebook, Manny Chee. Also, Facebook Manny Chee Outdoors is like the page, which I can do less on. So it's basically Manny Chee Facebook, Manny Chee Instagram, and my email, mannychee@gmail. You know, if there's somebody out there that can like, let's get together and try to do something about this. Like, I want this to be that one thing that maybe now that I'm a little older, be like, hey, I did something. Something with it. You know, not just. I fucking laughed and, you know, put up mushroom videos and laughed with my dog.
Ate some apples.
Ate some apples. You know, made some people fish swim baits. Like, nah, dude, let's do something good.
What a great way to end the podcast. Great message, dude. Thanks again for coming out, dude.
Thank you, brother.
All right, thanks for listening, guys.